My name is Tyler Fornes, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Good, the Bad, and the Hungy AEW podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We take a broad scope approach to the world of All Elite Wrestling and the entire universe of Tony Khan. We talk about the big matches, the big stars, the promos, the storylines, and we also look at it from a big picture perspective. How are things going to change over the course of the next 10 years with AEW still in the picture? How are companies like WWE going to adapt and adjust to AEW? Are they going to be a similar way like they did with WCW in the late 1990s? Will there be a counterpunch? We talk about all of that and more on The Good, the Bad, and the Hungy every week on the Voices of Wrestling Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Thank you so much for supporting WWE and NXT and me. You're so sweet.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
I'm not throwing in the towel. I'll do this till I die. The only ones that are going to get me are the ones that outlive me. Then they can come tap dance on my grave if they want. That's fine.
Rich Frage.
Just because a camera stays steady for 3 minutes does not mean it's like art and cinema. Watch a movie, watch a TV show, watch something.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? How are you?
They're all over us in the chat for starting late. You see this? I just logged in. They are all over us.
Well, and I said I insinuated a little bit by saying that there's a very dumb reason why, or I said a very classic reason why we are late on this here Flagship Live on October 10th.
Oh,
and it's a classic
reason. That usually means I'm taking a shit. But that's not what happened.
Right. There was the turkey that you cooked in like July that one time. That was a classic late one. You're usually taking a shit. This one was different. This one started because we started our call and you went yo yo yo, and then we went into a 25-minute discussion / research / analyzation of wrestling cameo superstar Tony Rica, who. Yeah, we've talked about on the show before, but for new listeners, I don't know, because I wonder, because the cameo thing, despite the fact that in our new intro is the Thea Hale cameo that Miss Erin Quinn was very nice to present you as a token of her appreciation and her understanding that you cannot go to Iceland. Yeah, birthday gift for whatever your birthday is, and a get well soon because you weren't able to go to Iceland with me, but also. So that's in the intro, and that's completely unrelated to this. But we were just talking about wrestlers on Cameo, and I feel like the Cameo height, I feel like that was a couple years ago. So I think a couple years ago, if you were in this, I hate to use the term, in this space, you would know who Tony Rica is, right? Do you think most people listening would know? Should I do a poll? I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to ask if people know who Tony Rica is.
I would say that there's probably a lot of people by now that aren't familiar with Tony Rica.
Is it Rica? I keep saying Rica. Is it Rica?
Could be Rica. Could be Rica. I don't know.
I assume that he's a man of Italian descent. So I'm gonna go with what you say.
This guy is painfully Italian. He
right,
is
so I'm gonna go with you.
Over the top Italian.
All right, I put in the chat room. I said, "Do you know who Tony Rica is?"
These percentages break out, but
it's not going well already for Tony. I'll say that.
Flagship legend Tony Rica.
Yeah. So, do you want to explain who Rica is, and then maybe we can see if the chat catches up and they know who he is?
Sure. Well, Tony Rica is a man who on across all social media platforms advertises himself as a former WWE superstar and pro wrestling Hall of Famer. So you might be thinking, I've never heard of this man. So who is he? Is this somebody's shoot name? Someone that we would be familiar with? In fact, no, it would not. Tony Rica had one match in WWF in 1993 against Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which he lost in 3 minutes on Superstars of Wrestling. And he's been using a still picture, a video capture from that match on all his social media in his very much 90s wrestling gear to advertise himself as a former WWF superstar and Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. And he was a side character on the Flagship for many years because he would do these cameos where he had his little catchphrase where he would go yo 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 and spin his finger, and he would do hundreds of these cameos, which this man was obviously purchasing himself and making up people that were buying them because nobody knows who he is. The guy had one match in his life. Yet he was allegedly destroying Cameo, killing it on Cameo, where he would put up 4 or 5 of these cameos a day that people were allegedly asking from him. So that's who Tony Ricca is. Oh, by the way, he also claims he invented the moonsault.
Right, which I'm dubious on that. I'm very dubious.
Very dubious.
Inventing the moonsault.
He claims he invented the moonsault when he was wrestling as the Pharaoh, which is one of the gimmicks he wrestled under. You could see it in his banner on Twitter at Tony Ricca WWE.
That's so
right?
good. It's so good to put WWE in his handle. The man gets it. He gets it.
I mean, I don't know what exactly he gets. I voted yes in the poll, and I'm the only yes vote so far.
Yeah, there's not many yeses so far. It's not doing well.
Nobody knows who Tony. I'm surprised. It's like we just assume we have like the same small batch of listeners we always had, but it's like we always get new listeners, and at least with the people who are in the chat, the No Dopes chat room, the $10 subscribers. Quite literally 0 of these people know who Tony Ricca is, which is crazy because we used to talk about Tony Ricca like once a month. I mean, he was like a side character on the show, much like, not that far behind the Nurse and TLB and whoever else gets discussed here. We used to talk about Tony Ricca pretty frequently.
Oh yeah, he's a top 10. He's a top 10 Flagship character for sure. Because that was in the time when you tried to sign up for Cameo and they denied you because you wanted it to be too expensive. You were going to charge $100 per Cameo, and they said, no, you can't charge $100. What did they recommend that you charge?
All right, so I signed up for Cameo, and back this many years ago.
This is like 2015, 2016, I think was peak Cameo days. You know,
probably it was sometime between. I don't think it was that early on. It was sometime between then and the pandemic. It was definitely before the pandemic. So maybe like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. And I signed up for Cameo. They want to know your social media and how many followers you have. So, of course, I use the Voice of Wrestling Twitter account and all that. And you have to put how much you want to charge. And I wanted to charge $100. And because I didn't want to I didn't want to wake up every morning and have to do 7 cameos. You know what I mean?
You didn't want to have to tell somebody about their trip to Iceland and wake up, before hip toss class and talk about someone going to Iceland. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Well, I wouldn't have minded having fun with it. I just didn't want to have to do 10 of them a day for $5. It's like, look, if I'm going to do it, I want it to be worth my while. So I want to do it for $100. If that only meant I was going to get 1 or 2 over the course of the year, that'd be fine with me, For $100, I'd do a nice job for the person and, give them, do all my bits and have fun with it. But then Cameo came back to me and they're like, yeah, people in your, I don't remember exactly. I still have the email. I should send it to you. But basically the gist of it was people with your level of following on social media generally charge $5. And I was like, not me. I am not rolling out of bed for $5 to do these cameos. If it's $100 or nothing. And they declined. So that's why I never got on Cameo, which might actually be a blessing. Because, if you're going to do Cameo, you got to make sure your fucking hair is done and you're dressed and you got to look presentable. And, even for $100, I don't know. It probably would have just annoyed me. So it might have been the gods speaking to me by having Cameo reject my application for wanting too much money. But you know who didn't want too much money? Tony Ricca. He was doing them for $5. Yep. And now, Rich, you have discovered that he's now
the scoop is it's now $3.99 to get Tony Ricca to do a cameo for you. It appears. So yeah, I don't know. And I went back in 2019. I did a study on WWE wrestlers and what they were charging and how many of them had gotten cameos and stuff. A real deep dive into that. You can go back and check that out in the Voices of Wrestling archives if you want. But I'm there right now. I'm on Cameo and I'm doing wrestlers and I sorted by high to low. And that's always a fun thing to check out because low is like your low are I guess it's kind of fun to see that, but a lot of that's like your lower level indie guys, your Tony Riccas, like those kind of guys are pretty low. Like who's the first wrestler that I recognize. Oh, Axel Tischer, $10 for him. Alexander Wolf, FKA Alexander Wolf, is up there for $10 if you want. You got to scroll a little bit more to find guys that I think anybody would really remember. Tito Santana, $15. I find that kind of insulting. You should charge a little bit more. That's a bargain for Tito Santana. I'm going to actually use that. Yeah. Bryce Remsburg, $15. No, thank you. I'd rather keep the $15. Let's see who else is quickly on here that I could point out. AJ Gray, $15 for AJ Gray. If you want, Chris Hamrick, ECW. You need someone for the Jovember to remember in about 19 years. Chris Hamrick there for $15.
That'd be the first booking AJ Gray got in years if you booked the Cameo for $15. It also happens to be his rate.
All right. And then if we sort
working stiff with AJ Gray here.
My word.
What do you ever do to me?
If you sort from high to low, you get an entirely different perspective, though. And one of these men, I think, is doing your thing. Now, MJF is $600. That's a guy who very clearly, if you want to pay, MJF does not want to roll out of bed and insult you and your dumb friends for $15. But if you charge him $600, he'll roll out of bed and insult you and your dumb friends. That's no problem.
That's right.
He's got no problem doing that. Another guy who, very minimalist in his ways, Tama Tonga, is $500 as well. Now that I respect that too, because he's perfect. Like, look, I'll do it.
That. Yeah,
for $500.
I'm telling you right now, I'd rather charge $100 and get maybe one per year than charge $5 and get 50 per year.
Yeah.
Okay. I might make more, but I don't want to do 50 of these fucking things. You know what I mean? Like I want to, So I totally understand why Tama Tonga would charge $500. He probably has done like a half a dozen in his life because of that.
Yeah, he probably has not done many. Yeah, they show that he's got 36 5-star reviews. So it looks like he's gotten a couple.
Yes, he's done 36 of them.
Not bad.
That's a lot of money. 36 times $500.
Absolutely. A man who also doesn't really like putting effort into things and is clearly not being rewarded for that lack of effort. Greg the Hammer Valentine, $400. He's only had 9 so far at $400, but I get it. That's very Greg Valentine to charge that much and only get 9 and just be like, whatever. He doesn't even know he has it. Sometimes he gets an email and he does it.
He's got someone who handles that stuff, and they're just like, Greg, you got to do it. And they put up the words for him to say behind the phone.
And
he just has to read it off of the fucking sheet. Like we talked last week. Did you get around to watching the Pete Rose doc or no?
I have not had a chance to watch it yet. No.
So there's one, they show him doing a cameo. Right?
Oh God.
and that girlfriend of his, that Asian lady who was in Playboy, who he was shacking up with the last 20 years. She's holding up the phone and she's holding up a giant script like on a poster board behind the phone. And he has to read off of that while also vaguely looking towards the phone, right? And he keeps fucking up and he's unable to read it. And it's a total disaster. That's what Greg Valentine's doing. He has no idea what Cameo is.
No clue.
The same person who books him for the conventions, books the cameos, and they just send him over what to say. And he gives. Could you imagine how I have to watch some of these great Valentine cameos up on the site?
Let me see. I'm gonna make sure I'm muted on this.
He probably gives the most.
They're so good. He's sitting at his desk. It's clear like his wife or someone that's recording it. They're not personal at all. He appears to just be sitting at a table. They're good. Oh, they're good. Yeah, I'll have to watch them. I'll have to listen to them later.
These have to be the most unenthusiastic birthday greetings you've ever heard from Greg the Hammer Valentine. Do you
want to read his about section? Here's about Greg Valentine. Quote, as being the bad guy, I never got to converse with my fans, but now I'm really excited about talking with all of my fans.
It's not a great bio.
No, it's not.
It's not a great bio. It doesn't tell you who he is. I guess though, if you know who he is, if you found it,
you're not stumbling upon Greg the Hammer Valentine,
right? Because the cameo, you're not really browsing. You know who you want, and you find them, and you're like, you know what? My cousin Ralph is a huge Greg Valentine fan. You're seeking out Greg Valentine. You're not browsing and saying, should I get Greg Valentine or should I get AJ Gray? That's not what you're doing. So you really don't need to describe yourself or who you are. in the if they don't know who you are, they're not going to buy it anyway.
Right.
So
right.
you're not going to convince them.
There's an all-timer though now that has entered the pro wrestling sphere and charging $999 for a cameo. It is a man named Vulcan. I don't know who the hell this guy is. His bio says former original Australian and British gladiators, James Bond actor, pro wrestler. He joined Cameo. He joined Cameo November 22nd, 2021. He has 0 reviews. Not a single soul has paid $999 for Vulcan to do a birthday greeting for them.
Yeah, it sounds like he's maybe an Australian American gladiator type show person on the Australian version. But again, yeah, that's shooting a little too high for the movie.
That's too high.
I think I'd get a couple for $100. I'd get one now and then for the bit. Someone would pay $100 for the bit. If I made it like $500, I'd never get one. So you have to make it high, but you can't make it ridiculously high like Vulcan over here. No one's paying $1,000 for Vulcan.
He's hoping. So he's hoping one man for some reason decides.
Yeah.
But no one's done it yet. No one's taken him up on it yet. But good for him, I guess.
Yeah. It's good to see Tony Ricca still going strong. He's lowered his price to $399. The further we get away from that Jim Duggan match, I guess he understands that he has to shave a little off of there. But we have to, respects to the inventor of the moonsault is what I say.
Absolutely.
We have
Yo.
Give it up for Flagship legend and WWE legend and Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. Do we know which Hall of Fame?
I would love to know which Hall of Fame. Is he in the same one as Hype Gotti is in the what is it? The Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame? Maybe that one.
I don't think Hype Gotti is in the Omaha Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Just Mantor.
He should be.
Yeah,
he should be. He's had so many classics at the Hog Stop restaurant that I think that it's a crime that Hype Gotti is not in the Omaha.
He's got to be on the wall. You think he's got a picture on the wall at the Hog Stop?
At the Hog Stop? Well, the Hog Stop closed down and was condemned and ripped and torn to the ground, Rich.
Shit.
Doesn't exist anymore. You don't remember when the Hog Stop closed? That was I was very sad about that. And I gave my condolences to Hype Gotti, friend of the show, when the Hog Stop closed down. And so unfortunately, no, there's no wall for him.
There's no wall. The wall is gone. If there was a wall, it is since been torn down, unfortunately. Wow.
But Hype Gotti would keep us up to date on all the happenings of the Omaha Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, of which Mantar was an inductee before he passed. So the Omaha Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame did Mantar right, unlike the Baseball Hall of Fame did with Pete Rose here. They put the man in before he passed. And Hype Gotti may have inducted him. I don't remember if that's true or not.
I'm gonna just pretend it is, and no one but Hype Gotti will be able to correct us on it. So that's fine. We can.
That's true.
Let that happen. Jonathan Hernandez in the chat room writes, "I got a cameo from Barry Horowitz once as an engagement present, and he forgot my fiance's name from the note, called her a quote fine lady, and apparently didn't have time for a second take."
That's the cameo experience there, baby.
Is Barry Horowitz, because he's like, "Hey, it's Barry Horowitz," as he slaps his back or whatever. Just let you know, it's the best.
We got to get Hype Gotti on because he has to tell the story on air of the time he was on a date and Mantar tracked him down and found him somehow, and he showed up at the restaurant and sat down next to him to talk about local pro wrestling drama. While the date was like across the table, and she's got like Mantar telling her, "1 second, hun, I got a business to discuss." And then he's talking about local pro wrestling, indie pro wrestling drama with Hype Gotti while this man's on a date trying to shove a burger down this girl's throat. And we got imagine Mantar crashing your date.
Mantar showing up,
to discuss the latest gossip in the Omaha
Mike Halak or whatever. What was it? It was Mike Halak or Mike Halak. I forget how you pronounce his name. Bruiser Mastino shows up to talk turkey about Omaha indie politics.
He's like, "Listen, Toots, I gotta talk to my man Hype here for a second." And he's like, "How did you find me? Like, why are you here? How did you even know I was here? Like, what's happening right now? Is there a hidden camera somewhere?" But yeah, I'm sure the way his version of the story is a lot more entertaining than the way I laid it out. But he's got a lot of Mantar stories. We almost brought him on when Mantar passed away, but it kind of just fizzled.
Yeah.
I know we tried to set that up. But
oh my God, Joe, I got news for you. I can't believe this.
Okay.
As Dakota Jones brought it up in the chat room as well, and I've confirmed it. Ladies and gentlemen, the first inductee into the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2024 is the icon Hype Gotti. He is in.
Oh!
He is in. Congratulations to our friend,
Now,
Hype
let me tell you
Gotti.
something. Nebraska's bigger than Omaha. That's a state, baby. So that is a more prestigious Hall of Fame than the Omaha Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, right?
Absolutely.
That's like
Hype,
for the whole state.
Hype began his career with the OWA, Omaha Wrestling Association, in 2001. A master on the microphone, he quickly became a fan favorite to love or hate. A talented wrestler from the very beginning. Early in his run, he highlighted that talent with 5-star matches against Chip Douglas, Sanjay Dutt, Tony Cortez, Jaden Drago, and countless others. I'd like to go back and watch those and see if truly are 5-star matches. I'm sure they were, but just want to confirm. He traveled the Midwest, creating his, quote, Gotti Country followers, holding each member of the audience in the palm of his hands. He had a hand in training of many of the stars you see today in the Metro, including Hall of Famer Jason Strife. His title reigns are vast and covered multiple promotions. As, quote, simply the best, along with his tag team partner Tony Cortez, pulled in the titles and the fans. Their fast-paced action in the ring was sure to entertain. There is one thing for sure. There is only one Hype Gotti.
That's fantastic. Who would have known? He didn't seem to tweet that out. I do follow the man. That's great news. That's bigger than Omaha. Big win for Hype Gotti.
He's in there. He's in there with some big ones too. He's Bearcat Wright, Gary Albright, Matt Farmer Burns, and Zach James are your other members of the class of 2024 Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
I'm not familiar with Zach James, but those other guys are like
those are some
icons.
of the best. Right. He's in there with Farmer Burns, who's like,
Burns.
Right. That's pretty good. That's, you got to be proud of that. You got to be proud of that for sure. Similar drawing record, I believe. Farmer Burns and Hype Gotti, but yeah, that's good.
Bearcat Wright. When are we doing the Nebraska Hall of Fame audio, Rich?
Right, we do. We probably should, man. I'd love to talk some Bearcat Wright, and honestly, we should just get Hype Gotti on and talk about this. We really should. We're long overdue to get him on the show.
I think Mantar would be very annoyed if he were alive today that Hype Gotti got into the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame before he did.
Now, do we know that for sure? Do we know that no. Mantar's there 2018. I'm looking at it right now. He is in the class, I think the inaugural class of the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Mad Dog Vachon, Maurice Swanger, the owner of the Omaha Wrestling Association, Baron Von Raschke, Mantar, Austin Storm, Vern Gagne, and Joe Dusek were the inaugural class, I believe.
And Mantar a few years later. So
No. Mantar was in the inaugural class, 2018.
Oh, he was with those guys.
Oh yeah. He's an Omaha he's a Nebraska Pro Wrestling legend. Of course he's with those guys. Are you kidding?
Did his brother PN News get into the Nebraska Hall of Fame?
Joe, the 2019 class of the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame includes.
You're glad I asked.
PN News, yes. Also, Iron Mike DiBiase, Helen Hild, and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, all included in there. Donnie Pepper Cricket, Mean Gene Okerlund, Joe Scarpello, Abu Colossus, and Sting were also members of the 2019 Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Well, you showed me.
It's quite the honor to be in this. There's some all timers, man.
This is NPN News and
NPN
Cannonball
News.
Grizzly.
Yeah.
So good for Cannonball Grizzly, and good for Hype Gotti. That's some Hall of Fame.
Dave Sullivan. Dave Sullivan was in the class of 2020. I could love.
Yeah, well, you know what? Now I've lost all respect for it.
This is so good. It was Tony Cortez, Hype Gotti's former tag team partner.
Yeah.
Gorgeous George, and Dave Sullivan.
Okay.
What a crew.
Yeah, I like how Tony Cortez gets in before Hype Gotti. It's like Mike Francesa getting in the Radio Hall of Fame before Chris Russo.
Yeah.
Chris
Just
Russo,
a little bit. Yeah.
Totally not being mad about it, even though he was really mad about it. It seems like a very similar situation. I put in one half of the tag team. It's like, we're going to put Hawk in the Hall of Fame, but we're going to hold off on Animal. We're still examining his credentials. Doesn't make much sense. But this is some Hall of Fame. They're not afraid to get the locals in there with the all-time legends. I like that. This new phone, I can't stop this thing. Do you hear my phone going
I do.
off?
Yeah. What do you got going on over there?
Well, I got a new phone. I don't know how to turn the fucking. Hold on, let me see.
What kind of phone are we dealing with here? Did you get did you get a folding phone? Did you get a?
No,
because you're not an iPhone guy.
Do I look like a man who gets a gimmick phone?
No, you probably have the cheapest one that they have, right?
No, you would be wrong, because
Oh.
I know I've talked about this before, okay? But I hate buying phones. It's like the worst day of the fucking that I can experience is going in to buy a phone. I just hate the whole process. I hate how they got to transfer all your shit. I'm afraid they're going to see my dick pics. It's a mess, Rich. I don't like getting a new phone. So I go in there, and this time I dealt with a guy named Shay. Okay. And let me tell you something about Shay. Very much a phone salesman. Okay. Very Angelico-like, this fella, if you're picking up when I'm laying down. Okay. This is the kind of guy who sells. Shay either sells cell phones, and if he wasn't doing that, he'd work in a vape shop. Those are the two options for this guy. But he was very good. I have to give Shay credit. So I walk in there with my phone, which is, I don't buy phones until the previous phone is just not functioning anymore, because I hate buying phones. So what my old phone was doing was I would open the phone, and it would, it would light up, and then it would slowly fade out like Michael J. Fox's siblings in the Back to the Future Polaroid. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So whatever I wanted to do on my phone, I'd have to do it really fast before the screen like faded out. And I did it for a couple of days, and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to go get another phone. This is ridiculous. First, I saw it as a challenge. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to live like this. This will keep me off my phone.
Yeah,
right?
it's like I had a broken screen for like a year because I was like, perfect. I don't want to use my phone that much. The screen's destroyed. I can't watch stuff on it. I can't really scroll on it. It's perfect. I'm not going to use it. But then I just kept using it, and I'm like, this is stupid. I need to get a real phone now.
Right. So I would have like 18 seconds to do whatever I wanted to do on my phone before the McFly family would fade out of existence. Right. So I'm like, I got to get a phone. So I bring the phone in. I'm dealing with Shay, and as I do every time I get a phone, he comes out. He goes, "Let me go get some phones. I'll show you some phones." So he goes to the back. He brings out 4 phones, and he deals them like a deck of cards. Right? He puts the 4 phones out on the table, and he starts giving I know the song and dance is coming, so I'm like, Shay, let me cut you off right there. He's like, okay. I'm like, one of these 4 phones is an old phone, an overstock from like 4 years ago that your boss wants you guys to push to try to get them out from the. Which one is the phone that's like 4 years old that you wouldn't sell me if you were being honest? And he's like, this one right here. I'm like, all right, that one's out. So he takes that one out. There's always one of those. Then we got 3 phones left. So I'm like, Shay, I'm a simple man. Okay. I make a solid wage. The Lanza family's doing okay. Okay. Just what is the most expensive, newest, highest end phone on this table that you can sell me and get me out of here as fast as possible? And he's like, well, there's 2. There's this Google phone, and there's this, this is the latest Samsung gimmick. It's modeled after the iPhone, all that. And then I said, you know what? Give me the Samsung. And then he fucking did the gimmick with the transfer gimmick, with the fade out. He had to do everything within 18 seconds and then restart the process all over again. But he got it done. He got everything transferred. I don't think he saw any of my dick pics. And then I'll walk out with the phone. And now I won't walk back in with this phone until it's literally breaking like all of the other phones I go in there with. So
you
no,
can't.
sir.
Yeah, there you go.
I do not buy the cheapest phone. In fact, I do the opposite. I buy whatever the newest, hottest, latest, most expensive phone is.
But you get nothing out of it, though. You don't use it for anything good, right?
No, I do not. But he's like, well, Mr. Lanza, I just have to tell you that this phone will be $8 more a month than this. I'm like, I don't care. It's not $1 million more. It's $8 a month. I just wrap it up. I just want to leave. I want to go home. So just give me the latest thing that's going to take the longest to be out of date or break or whatever the fuck, and let me move along with my day. And that's how we handled it.
This is interesting because you take the opposite approach with cars, as we've discussed, where I'm the way that you did that phone is the way that I do car shopping. I'm like, hi, this is the one I want.
Yeah.
This is I'll pay whatever. I don't care. Just get me out of here as quick as possible. Where you're like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. And I hate it. I'm you. The way that you are phone shopping is the way I am car shopping. Just get me out of here as quick as possible, please.
So I don't know what kind of phone this is because I already threw out the box and the receipt and all that shit.
Some Galaxy number. I don't know. Yeah,
it's the Samsung. He's like, and it's modeled like an iPhone now because all the icons are the icons on my wife's phone. So I'm like relearning some of this shit, which is annoying. I probably should just get the Google phone but anyway, whatever. So anyway, I did figure out how to turn the ringer off, so these text messages won't be blowing up the show anymore. But I'm going to tell you why. When I buy a car, that's the art of the deal. There's no deal with a phone. You just pay what it costs. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not fun. There's no wheeling and dealing. There's no haggling. There's none of that masculine battle of two bulls locking horns to see who's going to win when you buy a phone. You could do that with a car, right? And I get all excited, right? Buying a phone is an awful mundane task that I never want to do. So I think
there's a little more wheeling and dealing than you think, especially when I'm equipped with the nurse. That's a great gimmick to use because I'm like, you have any nurse discounts or any sort? And they're like, oh, all right. And then a whole new gamut of things come out once you have a nurse in the family or something like because I go, hey, do you have a first responders discount? I always try the first responders thing first off, and they might ask like, what kind of first responder? I'm like, a nurse, like, I guess that counts. And then I get a whole new deal, a whole new sets of deals. So I'm gonna tell you got to pull that out. I don't know if not sure if you can use that in your family, but you can try.
Well, look, that's a nurse. When am I supposed to go in there and say, sir, I'm a pro wrestling podcast?
You try. You might see. There might be another sheet of paper. That sometimes a new sheet of paper comes out and the whole game changes.
So when I go to see Shay next time, he definitely won't be there.
Shay might not be there in another month. Shay, this is not
right. He might be.
This is not a lifetime for Shay.
He might be down at Aggie Vape by next month. You're absolutely right.
He does not want to be regional manager of AT&T or whatever the fuck.
He might. Well, actually, he might want to be. He might want to. This is a cell phone guy.
Oh, you think?
Know what I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah, I got you. So maybe he does have aspirations. Yeah.
Sometimes you're with you're dealing with a cell phone guy. It's this guy was a cell phone. I'm telling you, he's a cell phone guy or he's a vape guy. He's one or the other. He's probably both. But what was I saying? Yeah, what am I supposed to go in there and say? Yeah, where's the pro wrestling pundit discounts? They don't have that, Rich. There's no. You got a nurse around.
Nah, you don't know. You don't know until you ask.
Well, I guess
probably not. I mean, you're probably right. I don't think Shay's going to pull out a different piece of paper, but maybe he's a wrestling fan, and then he does find a different piece of paper. That happened with us.
He did he upsold me on a faster internet speed gimmick.
Oh,
he did upsell me.
Yeah. You got taken.
He did get me. I felt like I was being bamboozled, but at the same time, again, I don't want to haggle. And he was like, well, the plan you're on is the slower plan, and it's $13 a month, and the one I have is faster, and it's $17 a month. And I'm just like, whatever, just do it. Just slap the button. It's fine. It's $4. Does this phone feel faster? I can't say it does, Rich. Can't say it feels any faster.
New phone day is never as exciting as people bring it up because you're always like, oh, here we go. And it's just kind of the same. It's usually not that much faster. It's, maybe there's a little bit more space available. Maybe the screen's a little bit bigger. But for the most part, the new car smell on phones wear off in like, for me, it's like record time. It's like an hour and a half in. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's just a phone now. Great.
It's more annoying than exciting. First of all, your spell check is dumb again and has to relearn all of the words that you use. So for the first month that you're texting and shit, the spell check and the autocorrect is all fucked up because I can attest to that.
You've been typing like an asshole lately. I don't know what the hell you're saying.
Because of the new phone.
This week, what are you talking about?
I'm telling you, this is a curbed episode because I sent you a text today where I tried to say the word never mind and it auto-corrected to nevermore and sent it to you. I'm like, what am I, Edgar Allan Poe? Who says nevermore? Nobody says nevermore, Rich. Why would the phone auto-correct to the word nevermore instead of nevermind? Nevermind has to be used by a magnitude of thousands more than the word nevermore. No one has used the word nevermore since 1896. Why is that even in the phone? Why is it making me text people nevermore? This is why I hate new phone day. The autocorrect doesn't know is dumb. It's going to take a month for the autocorrect to not be stupid. Okay? All my apps, all of my muscle memory, Rich. I knew where all my apps were on my other phone. I don't know if I'm swiping. I don't know if I'm pushing to the side. I don't know where to find anything, Rich Craich. Then when you get these new phones, They have all these apps on them that you're never going to fucking use. So I got to spend a half hour deleting all of these games and apps.
Oh,
that's
a day one. That's a day one process too. Apple has that too. There's like 75 different ones, and you're like, I don't need any of these. Get all these off my phone as quick as possible.
Rich, I use like 4 apps. I'm a simple man. I don't need half of this shit. I don't need any of the shit that they're giving me on this phone. So now I don't know where anything is. I got to sit down one day and and here's the other thing you got to do on new phone day. Okay. Half of these apps the apps you do use, you gotta like re-sign in.
Relog into everything. Yeah.
So now I gotta go find all my old fucking passwords. I gotta hope that Google has them saved somewhere. You know, you do the lookup gimmick on the Google gimmick. You know, but some of them aren't in there for some of these apps. You know, because some of them, you know, aren't connected to Google or whatever the fuck. So then you got to figure out how to log into the apps. That's a whole fucking thing. These people who enjoy new phone day are out of their fucking minds. Okay, if it was up to me, this phone right here that Shay sold me this past weekend would be the last phone I ever owned, and it would just work and update and suit my needs and never fade out like the Marty McFly family, and I could just have it until I fucking die, so I never have to buy another phone. I hate the fucking process. And let me tell you something. You want to know what the kicker is? And I'm telling you, we've done this show before. When I went in there, when he looked up my fucking account, he goes, "Oh, I see you just paid off your last phone last month." Yeah, of course. What a coincidence that it's breaking now. I know we've talked about this.
Oh yeah.
Because
it's fitting.
These things are built to fucking last the 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, that it takes to pay them off. Or however long ago I got this. 3, I don't even know. Because as noted, I throw my fucking receipts out. I don't keep anything. So, you know, that's how they fucking get you. So now I'm paying for a phone again. You know, I had 2 months of freedom where I didn't, you know, where we're saving the fucking $8 a month or whatever the fuck. That's the thing, though. They're not it's very minimal because they spread it out.
You barely notice. Yeah, you barely notice as it gets. You know, it's an extra $10, $12 on your bill or whatever. You barely notice it. It's fine for the most part.
Yeah, but anyway, I got this fucking phone, so that's why you're getting weird text messages. That's why people have to hear all my fucking text. But I think I figured out how to.
Sounds good. I haven't heard anything since. I had a horrific experience last time. The nurse is buying a phone. This actually get us into our first topic, I think, pretty well. So I told you that, you know, she said, "Well, do you guys have any, you know, discounts for first responders or nurses?" And that was like a whole different thing. And he's like, "Oh, all right." Well, then we had to swipe. You know, we were an hour in when she said that. So then the whole thing gets thrown out. He's like, "Oh, all right, hold on." And then, you know, a whole new piece of paper comes out. Previous orders deleted. We're starting from scratch. We basically start the whole thing all over again. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I don't know how the topic came to be. This is in an AT&T store, and I don't know how it came to be. I think like he was just like, the computer was taking too long, so he said, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And I'm like, I work in marketing or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." He's like, "You know, you have a voice, sounds like a radio voice." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Please, I know what's gonna happen next."
Oh God!
And the nurse is like, "Yeah, he does a podcast," and I'm like, "Oh no." Why? The most mortifying thing in the world. I'm like, "No." Why? Don't tell this person, because nobody has ever responded with, "Oh, okay," and then moved on. They always go, "Oh,
no,
about what?"
What
I'm
kind
like,
yeah,
no, God. So I'm like,
do
I lie to this guy? And I think that she knows that I'm gonna try to wiggle my way out of this.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, it's like a wrestling podcast or whatever," and his eyes light up.
Oh no, you got a Roman Reigns fan, didn't you?
I got a Roman Reigns fan. Yeah.
Oh God.
We were doing this transaction on a Monday. He looks at his watch and goes, "Oh shit, Raw's on," and I went, "Oh no,
no."
So he grabs the remote. It's showing like Sports Center. There's a big TV. It's showing Sports Center or whatever, and he's like looking around, like he's now delaying the process of getting the phone. He's like, "Hey, Carlos, you know where the remote is? Carlos, where's the remote?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's okay. It doesn't have to be on or whatever." And so eventually he finds the remote, turns it on, and now he's just asking me questions about Raw.
Oh no.
Like Rhea Ripley comes out, he's like, "Yeah, what do you think of Rhea Ripley?" I was like, "Yeah, she's fine."
No.
He's like, "Oh, I think she's incredible." She's like, "Oh my God, can we move this thing along a little bit?"
You had to get a fan too. You had to.
I know, and he knew it all. He knew it all too. He didn't even do it because how some people were like, "Oh yeah, I used to watch that." His eyes lit up and was like, "Wrestling?
Oh,
Raw's on, let's watch." And I'm like, "No."
You got a guy who is a big fan of Dirty Dom.
Yes.
That's what you got.
Yeah. And he's telling me about the Judgment Day story, and he's asking me when Jimmy Uso's coming back. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh god.
And I didn't have the heart to tell the guy, like, look, man, my show is you're not gonna like my show, man.
No. Well, that's the thing. Like, when that moment of truth comes, I used to lie. But what I've discovered is no matter what you say the podcast is about, they're going to ask the name of it anyway.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you say. So then you're kind of boxed into another corner, and you're kind of just trapped. You're stuck, and there's no way out.
My new gimmick now is what I do is I say I have a wrestling podcast. They ask what it is. I give them the name, and I go, yeah, we talk about like a lot of Japanese wrestling and stuff, so I don't know if you're really gonna dig into. I'm already telling him don't listen.
That wards them off like garlic to a vampire.
Exactly. Because I'm like, we don't really cover much. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of other podcasts that talk about WWE and stuff. So we try to be different. So we talk about like Japan and Mexico and wrestling from all around the world or whatever. And he's just like, that usually gets, you can see the excitement level go from like a 9 to about a 4 pretty rapidly. They might still check it out, but they're probably not. Once I said we talk about Japanese, you could see them be like, "Oh, all right, cool, whatever," and then they decide that they're not going to do it anymore.
It's that's like when my brother-in-law one time at a gathering, he was like, "Oh, Joe, I heard you going to WrestleMania," and I was like, "Well, technically, I'm going to WrestleMania weekend," and then he was like, "Oh, right, so you're going to WrestleMania." And it's like, oh,
not quite.
Do I go down this road, or do I just say yes?
Just say yes.
And then
just say yes.
That was the moment of truth. Do I just say yes and go get another plate of potato salad, or do I go down the road? Rich, I went down the road. Rich. I had to correct him. I was like, no, actually, I'm going to WrestleMania weekend. I will not be attending WrestleMania.
The granddaddy of them all. I will not be at the granddaddy of all. I will be with 300 other people at a hotel lobby or a hotel banquet hall watching Rev Pro. So
I said, actually, sir, I'm going to Eddie Dean's Ranch to watch Evolve Wrestling. But he at the same time he had two simultaneous looks on his face. Right. The one look said he was disappointed because he wanted to talk to me about WrestleMania, right? Like, he obviously knew the card and what was going on, and the other look was utter fucking confusion and not understanding why I was flying to another city to go to WrestleMania weekend and then blowing off the actual WrestleMania show.
Yeah.
Even though I explained to him, because this was years ago when I was writing for Fighting Spirit magazine, and even if I wanted to go to WrestleMania, I couldn't, because I was on deadline, because I had to write the review for WrestleMania, and I had to have that shit turned in to Brian Elliott by Monday morning. So there was no time to like stay in the city, go to WrestleMania, fly home, write the fucking. I had to go home before Sunday anyway, and you know how every one of our listeners right now is falling asleep as I tell this story? That was my brother-in-law at this gathering as I was explaining that I was on deadline and I had the right to review, and I was going to Evolve at Eddie Dean's Ranch and a lucha show outside of Denton and all of this other stuff that he did not care or give one shit about. He has never asked me about wrestling again.
Yeah, it
not
ended
one
it.
time.
Yeah.
And that had to be how many years ago? I don't know if it was the Dallas Mania, but it was at least 5 years ago that we had that conversation.
I'm pretty sure it was the New York. I think it was the New York City Mania. I remember you telling the story at the time.
Yeah, it might have been the New York. Yeah, it was one of them many years ago. Because
I think he found that even more perplexing that you were going to fly away all the way to New York and then fly back the morning of WrestleMania. I think it boggled his mind that you would go to New York, where WrestleMania is happening, go to wrestling shows, but then not go to WrestleMania. It boggled a lot of people's minds.
Well, someone like him who probably watches Raw 3 times a year probably doesn't know that there is wrestling.
Of course not.
Is not WWE, right? So it's like he had no fucking clue what I was talking about. But you always have that moment of truth when people ask about wrestling, where it's like, all right, there's a fork in this road. Right? I have to take the road of least resistance here, but sometimes you fuck it up and you take the wrong fork and you end up in an awkward situation that you have no interest in being in. And I think everyone who's even a wrestling fan, let alone does what we do, ends up in that trap at some point.
They've been there for sure. But that probably leads us pretty well into, I was going to do the Bad Blood review, but It also leads pretty well into this one. Not a lot to talk about this during the week, but I think we should probably touch on this. I have not seen a whole lot of other podcasts touch on it. I've seen WrestleNomics and Post Wrestling touch on it because they had one of the representatives of Janelle Grant on one of their shows. But Ann Callis, the attorney for Janelle Grant, reached out to the attorneys for WWE, Vince McMahon, and John Laurinaitis this week, asking them to discontinue enforcing non-disclosure agreements with current and past employees with the intent of allowing similar allegations of sexual misconduct against Vince McMahon to come forward. So, yeah, it's interesting. You haven't seen a whole lot about that this week on your wrestling news sites or whatever, but I have the whole I have the letter in front of me if you want me to read it for you.
How long is that going to take?
Not very long. No, it's quick. It's quick. 4
Making
paragraphs.
sure there's an equal amount of blueberries in every muffin, or is it going to be?
It'll be good. It'll be quick here. So let me, I'll read it here because I think it's important to read. Quote, World Wrestling Entertainment has said that it takes Miss Grant's allegations very seriously and has no tolerance for any physical abuse or unwanted physical contact. In other words, WWE would like the world to believe that it has reformed its workplace culture, but if WWE is truly committed to change, it must allow survivors to speak their truth without fear of reprisal. We call upon WWE to publicly waive enforcement of its non-disclosure agreements to allow its former and current employees and contractors to speak out about sexual misconduct, sexual assault, harassment, and workplace aggression or disputes concerning the toxic culture at WWE. This includes releasing women who signed NDAs related to sexual misconduct by former CEO Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and other WWE leadership and employees as conditions of settlement. The toxic and sexualized culture at WWE during Mr. McMahon's tenure as CEO and chairman was open and notorious. Yet, what has been publicly reported is only part of the picture. We have had witnesses come to us confidentially and describe a sexualized culture at WWE that victimizes women and men. We have received reports that many victims are currently afraid to come forward because of the punitive non-disclosure and non-disparagement agreements. For example, the Wall Street Journal reported on July 8th, 2022, that Mr. McMahon paid over $12 million to at least 4 women to secure their silence about his sexual misconduct. Our client is just one of an untold many. We therefore also ask Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis to affirm that survivors and WWE employees who witnessed abuse may speak about their experiences without fear of retribution or retaliation. WWE cannot move on from its sordid past while its victims remain silent. Survivors deserve an opportunity to share their experiences on their terms. Forced silence only deepens the wounds of sexual abuse. Survivors are re-victimized every time they're muzzled and forced to live in fear of attack from a multi-billion-dollar business that can hire an army of lawyers to bury them in legal fees if they speak the truth. Even unenforceable NDAs, like the one our client was coerced to sign, have a chilling effect because individuals do not have the will or the resources to fight them. WWE must clarify that any NDAs that it has entered are not intended to prevent disclosure of sexual misconduct, abuse, or assault, and disclaim and waive any claims it may have under those NDAs if current or former employees and contractors choose to speak out. We urge WWE to quickly and proactively release its current and former employees and contractors from any obligations under WWE executed NDA that would prevent them from discussing sexual misconduct, abuse, or assault during their time at WWE without delay. WWE wants people to believe the company has changed. This is the chance to prove it. And Cal's.
Yeah. So, are they? Did you see this Twitter account that I think is claiming to be with the Grant defense?
Mm-hmm. I think it's WWE Survivors is the account, and I have yet to find out if anybody has clarified that that's actual. Yeah, it's at WWE Survivors, and the pinned tweet is Janelle Grant is a former WWE employee and sexual assault and human trafficking survivor at the hands of Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. This account will provide updates and lift up the stories of those who have been silenced for so long. Email is WWE Survivors at skd. It's skdnick.com, which is the new woman that they hired. Her name escapes me right now. We talked about it. Kendra, I forget her exact name, but she essentially is being brought in to be kind of the PR arm of this of Ann Callis obviously remains the lawyer of Janelle Grant, but now this Kendra from this company is kind of the PR arm. So I would assume that if that email is out there and that the email is being published, that you would assume that this is a real thing, but I have not seen anybody clarify that at WWE Survivors is a real account just yet.
Well, we're doing this show live on Thursday night, and I think the account was created today.
Yeah, Kendra Barkhoff-Lammy is her name.
Yeah, so if only Twitter had a system in place that could verify the validity and the authenticity of the accounts on Twitter, if only there was a system, Rich, in place where they could do that. It's really a shame that we can't verify who the actual people are behind Twitter accounts. It's terrible, but yeah, I guess we'll have to give it some time and see if that's a legitimate account or if it's someone just fishing for stories. I don't know who would just send some random Twitter account their painful and hurtful stories of abuse, and trust that that's going to someone who they can trust. But I guess we'll have to give it a week or so to shake out and see if that account is legitimate. If it is, then that's another step in sort of this new strategy where they're trying to pressure WWE. I mean, you guys all just heard the letter. I mean, look, WWE is not going to comply with this.
Oh, God.
But this is also, this is a PR strategy as well to kind of tell people, hey, it's not just Janelle Grant, in case you weren't clear. There's a lot of people, and there's more NDAs, and
it's not just Vince McMahon either. It's the company is a part of this thing too,
because it's this has become known as the Vince McMahon lawsuit, conveniently leaving out that WWE is being sued as well as John Laurinaitis. It's not the Vince McMahon lawsuit. There are three entities that are being sued here. So yeah, they're trying to just continue the awareness that, hey, WWE, we're going after them as well. And my client is hardly the only one who was subjected to this sort of behavior. And, I guess the idea being it's just kind of like, it's a grandstand challenge almost, to put it in those kind of terms, like when Eric Bischoff challenged Vince McMahon to a pay-per-view match that he knew he would never accept. It's you can't really come off looking bad when you make a grandstand challenge when you know the other person's never going to accept, and the other entity always looks bad to the uninformed, if they don't accept. So it's to keep awareness out there that there's other cases outside of Grant. And it's also to push their buttons and embarrass them a little, and all those sorts of things. There's a major PR aspect to all of this.
Of course, yeah, and that's why they hired this firm and this Kendra woman to be involved in this, to kind of take it. Okay, we're not quite getting as much traction as we thought we would get on this thing. I could have told them that because nothing sticks to this company ever. You could just ask us. We would have told you this thing would have, get tossed and forgotten about very quickly, even though it definitely shouldn't be forgotten about and tossed to the side very quickly. But I think that's what this whole goal was, is, okay, we're going to hire this firm to really, and the woman, this Kendra Lammy, I think she's had experience as like a press secretary. I think at one point she was the press secretary for Joe Biden when he was the vice president, and, has had some pretty big positions as well. And so they obviously hired her to try to do stuff like this, like to have us and other people talk about this. And I think that's it's an interesting, like you said, it's an interesting play to do this. It's a challenge that they know that WWE is never going to say, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's release all these NDAs. No problem. They know they're not going to do that, but the idea is to put it, to force the negativity towards WWE of like, oh, we asked them to release NDAs and they claim that they, the workplace has changed and is different and they've moved on from Vince McMahon, yet they will not release the NDAs. What does that tell you? So it's a little bit of manipulation, but fuck it. That's how this game has to get played. And that's where we're at now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as we wait, to see how this is all going to shake out. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, people like us are well aware that there's more than just this situation, and that there's, the original Wall Street Journal reported that there were multiple NDAs, right?
Oh, so yeah. There was that one. There was that $7.2 million one that was out there, and we were like, whoa, right. Who is that? That's a lot of money for that one.
But the Wall Street Journal story was ages ago at this point.
Yeah, July 2022. That's long. 2 years ago.
and it's a fast news cycle. And unless you're deep in the weeds with wrestling, you might not realize that this was a pattern, a decades long pattern in the company. So maneuverings like this, keep that. And plus, I'm sure now that that Grant's people saw the Vince doc and saw how tissue soft it was, there's reasons I'm sure that may have influenced this too.
Sure.
To where it's like, oh no, let's make it clear that this guy's a fucking monster. And, it's not how the documentary laid it out, where they, because, the final episode of that doc obviously did not do a great job. Would they spend a total of 10 to 15 minutes on it at the back end of the, so there's probably, because remember they made that statement the 24 hours before the doc came out. They put the statement out and everything to kind of preemptively, and Vince did too. Vince put out his own statement as well. Right before the doc came out.
But I think what's interesting enough, and I think this is a big reason why they're doing this as well, is WWE has said nothing about this the entire time. They have pretty much stayed completely silent on it, are hoping and praying that people call it the Vince McMahon
Paul
lawsuit.
didn't read it, Rich. Paul hasn't read it yet.
He hasn't gotten to it yet. He hasn't gotten to it yet. I'm sure he's going to work on it. I'm sure it's on his nightstand and he's thinking about it. But he just can't seem to find the time to carve out to read it. Maybe the next plane ride. Maybe the plane trip to Saudi Arabia coming up here in a couple weeks. Maybe he
plenty of time.
He can
plenty of time
fire it open, fire it open, and say, "All right, let's see what's in this thing here." But maybe he'll get to it eventually. But yeah, they've kind of stayed out of it a little bit, and the Netflix documentary obviously did nothing to indicate that WWE was a part of it whatsoever. Very much, Vince McMahon. So I do think that now that this team has decided we're going to have to get on the offensive a little bit and make sure people know that it was not simply Vince McMahon, but it was also the company culture, and the company, knew about it, and maybe he was the central figure in this. And obviously they want to get him more than they want to get anybody else. But the idea is also that, hey, look, if these allegations are true and what Grant lays out in this lawsuit is true, that a lot of people in this company knew damn well what was happening and did nothing to stop it. And that needs to be called out and questioned as well. And to their team, I'm guessing, and I know this is how I feel, that nobody's doing that right now. It is the Vince McMahon lawsuit and the Vince McMahon lawsuit alone. And that's, I think they're trying to fight back on that a little bit. But we wait and we see what happens there. Hey, Joe, you want to talk about WWE Bad Blood 2024? We could just neatly transition into a premium live event review. How do you like that?
Bad Blood. Every time I hear the name of this show, I think of Billy Jack Haynes, who was Black Blood.
Yeah, Black Blood.
Always think of Billy Jack Haynes. But yes, the Bad Blood pay-per-view was what was it, on Saturday?
That was a Saturday. Yeah, it was a Saturday show from State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, the site of the Omni. And we had an interesting show, to say the least. It was a 5-match Paul Levesque pay-per-view, as per usual, but I will say this one was helped a little bit by what I thought was at least one really good match, and that's about it. I think that it was a kind of a shitty show otherwise. It had one match that I really liked, and 4 matches that I thought were kind of bad. But I don't know.
Rock came back.
The final boss did come back, and he has a title, and I don't know what the title is, but the final boss is back.
It's got a Brahma Bull on it.
It does have a Brahma Bull belt. Yeah, he's got a Brahma Bull belt, and he is the final boss. And the OTC was nervous about the final boss showing up again. But
why don't we start there? So they made us sit through a half-hour Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns match against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, which was a nothing match.
Bad.
How just boring. Was that these matches are just, a lot of these WWE matches are just needlessly long. Even their own fans don't want this, right? Like, here's the thing. A lot of their matches are needlessly long, and then they're not very good. So it's not satisfying the wrestling nerds like us. And their fans don't want this. Their fans want entrances, and they want the next step in whatever goofy story is being told. That's what their fans want. Entrances, signature moves, and what's the big surprise at the end of the match? You don't need to give these people 26 minutes. They don't care. You can give them 11 minutes.
Right. What Pacific Islander is turning on the other Pacific Islander, and when does the next guy that's a surprise come out? When does the next music hit that's a surprise that we can all cheer for?
If these matches were 11 minutes instead of 25 minutes, okay, people at first would raise an eyebrow. Their fans are so dialed in that they would defend it. They'll defend anything. Their fans will defend and support. Everything's so over in this company that it wouldn't matter, okay? And everyone would be better off. This match did not need to be 26 minutes. In fact, I thought Jacob Fatu's stock took a little bit of a hit here because if I have to watch him put Cody Rhodes in another nerve hold,
yeah,
Rich, I couldn't take it. I mean, I thought Jacob Fatu has been phenomenal since they brought him in.
Absolutely.
You know, he got in great shape. It seems like he's got his shit together. He's gotten over. He's obviously super talented, way more talented than Solo or somebody, you know, Tonga Loa or Tama Tonga or any of these other guys they brought in. And, you know, and look, he's got to, you know, at some point he's going to have to promo. Okay, we all understand that. But he has a major league presence. And sometimes you never know with people, right? They come in, you don't know if they're going to have a major league presence. But I think he's been great. I've enjoyed him in WWE, but man, this was not enjoyable. These nerve holds were just interminably long. I really believe they can train their audience to make these types of matches a lot shorter because nobody's watching these bloodline matches for the matches. I mean, their fans will flat out tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their fans mock you for liking wrestling matches. You know what I mean? It's like they don't care about the matches. It's a story. Well, then just give them a story then. Why are you wasting everyone's time with 26-minute matches?
And you could hear the crowd too. The crowd was not invested in really any of the bell to bell.
They're never invested, Rich. They're never invested between the bells in these matches. They're sitting on their hands waiting for the next storyline development. And then in this case, it was Jimmy Uso coming back, which makes your cell phone salesman happy, right? So I'm sure he's thrilled about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Rock came out at the end. And the whole Rock segment was totally bizarre. You know what it reminded me of? You had The Rock standing up there with his Brahma Bull belt. You had Cody and Roman looking at each other and then looking at The Rock and then looking at each other and then looking at The Rock.
I hope I'm thinking what you're thinking, but go ahead.
You know what this reminded me of? The August 1st warning with Tito Ortiz.
Yes, exactly.
That's what this reminded me of.
Yes, I wrote that in my notes. I was saying, this is weird. Sign off. Why is this still going on? Because it's like, dum, dum, dum. The Rock's sitting up there with his and Roman and Cody are looking at each other and looking at him and looking at each other. Then they come back to The Rock.
Looking at him.
Dum, dum, dum,
you know what you need to do?
and I'm like, sign off. We got it. The Rock's back. Like, do something or sign off because this is getting weird.
Put your skills to use. Make a GIF of The Rock and Cody and Roman looking at each other and looking at The Rock, and then slip Mr. Kennedy scratching the back of his head into it.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I should.
You should do that. That you know, if we had a blue check on Twitter chasing the Elon dollars, that would be a big hit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if you go to the there's like a GIF that's like the go-to GIF on Google for the August 1 warning, and it has voicesofwrestling.com in it.
That's your GIF.
Yeah, I'm glad. So I made that GIF. So you're right. It is my duty. It is my duty. The itch, the Mr. Kennedy itch. Yeah.
And Kennedy scratching the back of his head, making the face.
Yep.
Like looking at Tito with the arms folded, looking at like that's what this felt like the August 1st warning.
Yeah.
I'm like nothing like and then Rich, nothing happened. Nothing happened.
They signed off.
It just signed off. Now listen, it's The Rock, right? Nothing has to happen.
No, of course not.
It's the fucking Rock, right? So that you can get away with it, but as someone who has no investment in this and doesn't give a fuck either way, it's silly. It's silliness. They come out, they stare at each other. And then the show just signs off. So anyway, we got and also what it did was nobody's talking about Jimmy Uso coming back now because the biggest star in the history of the business came out 5 minutes after Jimmy Uso came out. So that's kind of an own goal that WWE is usually more careful about, right? Aren't they usually more careful about?
Oh,
that?
yeah. They're usually good about spacing those things out and spacing those surprises out. But yeah, Jimmy was completely neutered by The Rock coming out, 5 minutes after. They do the thing where Jimmy comes out and he, takes out the Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and then he hugs Roman Reigns after the match or whatever. And what's funny about all this is how many times do we mention Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, in this entire review? This is maybe the second time that we've mentioned him. The other time you mentioned him was Jacob Fatu putting him in nerve holds. Now that was another thing that, again, I've been monitoring every time I watch WWE is where does Cody kind of fit into all this stuff. And it always feels like when I watch one of these big Cody main event matches and Roman's involved or somebody else is involved in the bloodline, it always feels like Cody is a bit player. And there was a point where, and they're sort of also telling that story in a way, but there was the time where Jimmy's hugging Roman and they're celebrating all that sort of stuff. And you see Cody just in the corner and he's just sitting there in the corner. And they did do a good job of, I think, showing, hey, Cody's like looking in the corner like, okay, I'm also here too. Hey, how's it going? And, he holds up the title and Roman looks at the title, but it always just feels like Cody's the, third or fourth most important person in a lot of these matches. And I can't get over that.
He's a side character in this story. He really is. And it feels that way. And, he'll have the match with Gunther at, I guess we could tie that segment into this since it led to. So they'll do that match in Saudi for this new, they didn't have enough world titles in this company. They had Cody as the undisputed champion, right? Despite the fact that there's another world title in the company.
Yes,
somehow
that he will be facing, and he'll be facing the man that holds that title at Crown Jewel. Yep.
For a third belt. And so, Rich, I don't know. That doesn't seem undisputed to me. There seems to be a dispute here because there's another man with another world title running around, and he's going to wrestle the undisputed champion for now this third belt. There's a lot of dispute, if you ask me. And, oh, by the way, The Rock's running around with a title over his shoulder because he doesn't want to be left out in the mix. But, so they'll wrestle in Saudi for this belt. Did you see when Paul Levesque, who, by the way, as you always know,
this
doesn't
poor guy
want any attention.
Yeah, this guy, another failed attempt to run from the spotlight he's constantly being forced into. I mean, this poor guy is just trying to sit back in Gorilla and do his job. And yet again, just like he was on NXT, just like he was, on any big show, he's forced into sometimes literal spotlights. Like quite literally a spotlight shines on this man,
Rich,
and it's so sad.
They had a lot of people lined up to introduce this new title, but unfortunately that all fell through, and Paul had to go out there and do it. He had to take one for the team, even though he doesn't want any attention.
All right, put the headset down, put the pen down, take a swig of water and go, all right. Put the suit coat on. Got to put the sport jacket on or whatever. He had it off, but now it's got to go on. Okay, all right, I'll get out there.
He turns to Doc Hendricks and he says, "Hold down the fort." And he goes out there and for the belt reveal, And did you see when he pulled the velvet covering off of the belt or whatever? Did you hear Michael Cole? Michael Cole was like, "Ooh," like the noisy
orgasmic, yeah.
Cole made a noise like he's getting sucked off under the table. Like, calm down, Cole. It's just a title belt.
Yeah, calm
I
down,
know
buddy.
he's just doing his job. But, I rewound about 4 times to hear that noise that Michael Cole made when they revealed this dopey belt that nobody's going to care about, by the way.
I did have a little faith in the WWE universe because Paul Levesque, again, unfortunately in the spotlight yet again, was like, history will be made November 2nd. Rehad season presents WWE Crown Jewel. And they went, boo! And I went, yes, all right. There is hope. There is still hope. The fact that this Atlanta, Georgia crowd was like, fuck off with this Rehad season bullshit. Get out of here.
Rehad season presents. What?
So they're not, they're an odd breed. And I don't understand these people. But they're not completely lost. They're not entirely
So they're
lost.
not biased. So what you're telling me is when they do these Saudi shows and they do the pre-tape with Michael Cole speaking over this progressive city in the Middle East with its so people aren't buying that, Rich. You're telling me they're not buying that.
Corey, it's Rehad season. It's it's a beautiful time to be in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Vision 2030. Season. That's what it's called. It's a winter event. Have you ever looked up what it is? It's like a winter festival. I don't know what it's very strange. I'm not gonna go. Not going to go to it.
Remember the one where they had the airline and they were all putting over the airline? Like they had It's Bailey out there. Going, I've never been on a
about
flight.
How big the seats were? How nice the seats?
Accommodating.
Yeah.
It was so comfy. This flight that I was on my way to Rehad season. And they were putting over the fucking Saudi airline, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Probably the one they were stuck on the tarmac.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was. I hope it was really comfortable when they were stuck on it while Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar and a couple other guys flew out as quick as possible.
While they were texting their significant others. I don't know if I'm gonna get out of this country. I'm stuck here in Riyadh season. But
the seats are very comfortable. But the seats are incredibly comfortable, and the stewardesses are very nice. So you know what? There's worse places to be stuck for 6 hours with your life being threatened, I guess.
I've been waiting for the next airline commercial. They haven't done one.
Yeah, they have not.
Remember which show that was? Was that Greatest Royal Rumble? Or what
it wasn't the Greatest Royal Rumble. I forget which one it was.
No, it was after that. But I want to go. I want to watch. It's probably on YouTube, the commercial, right? With It's Bailey putting over the airline.
Yeah, it's Bailey and Bianca Belair talking about the airline. Yeah.
How great the food was on the plane, and then how comfy the seats were, and so he reveals this belt. Yeah, it's funny. You're right. Just like the NXT debut on the CW, where they literally, forced him, Levesque, to come out from behind the curtain. You could almost see somebody's foot shoving him out from behind. It's really crazy how they just forced this guy into the spotlight on every big show. Rich, you almost feel bad for Levesque.
You really do.
This is why he doesn't. You know what? This is why he doesn't have time to read the lawsuit.
He's too busy going out.
Constantly on camera.
Too busy getting on camera. Yeah, it sucks.
It's ridiculous. But and they did the angle with Goldberg. Because we're in Atlanta, so Gunther calls out Goldberg, and they have the big pull apart. With I don't think that's going anywhere. I don't think they're going to do anything with Gold. Although Riyadh season is coming.
Bill might need to put a new in-ground pool in his house, so he might be saying, "All right," cracking the knuckles.
Bill's a big fan of Riyadh season,
yes,
as we all know. So maybe, but we know that Gunther will be wrestling Cody.
Yeah.
At wrestling is just the weirdest fucking shit. The biggest main event that the company has right now is a man that simply goes by Cody versus a man that goes by Gunther. Whatever happened to like King Kong Bundy and Abdullah the Butcher?
I know.
Whatever happened to cool wrestling names? Now we have wrestlers who named Cody and Gunther. I mean, Gunther was the fucking barista on Friends. Okay? What the fuck is Gunther? What the fuck is Cody? Where are the cool wrestling names? They're gone, Rich. We used to have cool, intimidating sounding names in pro wrestling. And now we just get
Andre the Giant. We used to have Andre the Giant, and now we have Cody. Yeah.
Yeah. Now if Andre came through, he'd have just the first name, and it would be of some mild-mannered, name that you think of like an accountant. He'd be Felix. Here is the intimidating 7-foot-tall Felix. And he's got a match coming up with Gunther. What are these names? Bruiser Brody. That's a wrestling name. Cody?
Dick the Bruiser. Where's Dick the Bruiser? There's no Dick the Bruiser walking through that curtain anytime soon, unfortunately.
Dick the Bruiser, yet another pro wrestling name that could be a porn star name, right? So it's like there's always a lot of crossover there. A lot of these NXT names, wrestling names, period, often sound like porn names. But where were we? Oh, Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
So no, they're doing Gunther and Cody for this new green belt that had Michael Cole being very orgasmic. And then we'll see. Remember, they rolled out a shiny new belt for the Greatest Royal Rumble that Braun Strowman won, and we never saw that belt again.
I think it was reported. I don't know exactly if anybody's confirmed this, but I know maybe it's just rumor or whatever that this Crown Jewel Championship will just literally be for. This is like a placate the Saudi Arabian thing, like the fake Yokozuna guy. I think, right. They said, hi, we're paying you, X amount of millions of dollars. We want a championship. So they're like, all right, fuck yeah, we'll give them a championship. So they're going to fight for this title that will never you'll never see this title ever again until the next time they go to Crown Jewel, and then you'll see it again, maybe.
Yeah, it's like he said it's going to be a yearly thing where the undisputed champion faces the other world champion, which somehow doesn't make the other one in dispute. Why do they keep calling it the undisputed champ when there's another world champion?
I don't know. It's very goofy. But nobody cares except for us, so whatever.
So Saudi Riyadh season gets the Cody Gunther match. Gunther should win that, right? It's not as easy a decision as you think.
No, yeah, that's tough. But he probably should. He's
I
got
don't
more
think you
momentum.
want to beat Gunther.
I think Cody can eat a loss. I think Cody can eat a loss. Gunther, I don't think would be a good idea to have him eat a loss while he's on his.
But I think Gunther will cheat. Gunther will cheat, which will be why I'll be annoyed when Gunther cheats. But I feel like Cody's a made guy, even though his title run isn't going that great. Because again, he feels like a side character in the bigger story in the company. I still think he could, like you're saying, absorb a loss. So Gunther should win the match. But so Gunther called out Goldberg, did the pull apart, and that was pretty much
real quick, I should point out, and Cody Rhodes came out with the Arkansas Pine Bluff marching band. They played him to the ring, and Michael Cole said the following quote: Cody Rhodes being played to the ring by the Arkansas Pine Bluff marching band for the biggest match in his entire career. And I don't know.
Biggest match of his entire... He said that?
He did. He said for the biggest match in Cody Rhodes' career. And I said, I don't know. What about WrestleMania from this year? How about that?
I understand that's his job and you're promote, but I mean,
that's a little much.
Sometimes
that's a little much.
You say things that cross the believability threshold when you say things like that. This wasn't one of the 10 biggest matches of his career.
No,
right?
It was definitely not.
Was this one of the 25 biggest matches?
No,
of his career?
No,
probably not. Right?
No.
Was it one of the 50 biggest matches?
Maybe I can maybe get with 50. I can get top 50
because he teamed with Roman.
Yeah, main event, big arena. The Rock came back. The final boss came back. I could buy top 50.
We didn't know The Rock was back when Cole said that, though.
That's true. It's true.
We didn't know The Rock was back.
I'll go top 50. Team with Roman, big crowd. I'll go top 50.
Top 50, I think you have an argument. I don't think it was top 25.
I don't think it was top 25. It certainly wasn't top 10, and definitely not the biggest match of Cody Rhodes' career. I don't think.
I mean, they were wrestling Solo Sikoa in the face of MLW. This wasn't the biggest match of Cody's career.
Did you catch that barricade spot? That was really cool. Jacob Fatu went through the barricade. That was wild. Man.
Oh, they never do that.
I know.
That's crazy.
I was like, whoa. He ran towards Cody, and then Cody moved, and he went right through the back. I was blown away by that. It was cool.
Yeah, you hardly ever see that.
Then he went through a table. Cody then did something, and he went through a table, and I was like, "Wow, they are truly pulling out all the stops on this one." I'll tell you that.
They really went above and beyond for the biggest match of Cody's career. They, barricade and table spots. The match was just a nothing match. It was waiting around 25 minutes for Jimmy Uso, and getting back to that point before we went on 100 different sidebars. Had The Rock not debuted here, what would all of the headlines have been on all of the shitty wrestling sites on Monday?
Jimmy Uso's back, yeah.
Right? But The Rock just totally cannibalized all of that. And that really is the kind of mistake that WWE rarely makes. So that stood out to me. Sadly, this may have been the second best match on the show.
Yeah.
Which is really,
agree.
Not saying
I would agree with that, unfortunately, yeah.
Do you want to do this Hell in a Cell and then do the rest of this slot?
Let's end with the Hell in a Cell. Let's end with the Hell in a Cell. I think that'll be a better way to do it.
So, Nia Jax defeats It's Bailey. And this was really, again, the problem with a lot of these WWE matches. Now, the match was, again, a nothing match. But we're just killing time until it's Tiffy time.
It's
and then
Tiffy
the
time. And then she comes out with a little purse, money in the bank. Yeah.
And she comes out, and then they take the world's most absurd ref bump. Did you see this ref bump where I think it was Lady Ref?
It was Jessica Carr. Yeah. So what she's doing is Bailey and Nia Jax are in between her, and Nia Jax is about to fall on Jessica Carr, but then she doesn't. And she goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. And Jessica Carr goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And everybody stops and goes, okay, cool. And then It's Bailey kicks Nia Jax, and Nia Jax lands on Jessica Carr. And then Jessica Carr's out. She's out for like 5 minutes.
Nia Jax just splats on Jessica Carr like she's Crusher Blackwell. She just splatted on her with all of her substantial weight. and crush this woman underneath. It's just the most absurd ref bump. This was Dragon Gate levels of absurd, like in terms of ref bump or distraction. So it's Tiffy time comes out, and and then Nia comes to, right, as Jessica Carr, and she thinks that Tiffy time was cashing in on her.
Yeah,
like that's the gimmick here, right? And then Tiffy's trying to explain, no, I'm trying to help you. I was trying to help you.
As you could hear too, because they had the camera. She goes, I wasn't trying to cash in. I was trying to help you.
Right. And it's like, why is her music hitting if she's just coming out? It's just so stupid. It's why you can't watch this shit. This company stinks.
It's so bad.
Again, the whole purpose of this match was just to get to it's Tiffy time coming out and doing their little angle at the end. It's never about the fucking match. It's never about the match. And they've convinced their audience that that's the way you do things. Like that's the way you should do things. I watched this and I knew this show was going to be, all right, they're opening with the Hell in a Cell per the backup Hangman, right? And then we know they're ending with the Cody Roman thing. And I knew everything in between was going to be like sitting in a dentist chair.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this was. It sucks. You're sitting around. You have to watch Nia Jackson and washed up Bailey.
Oh, yeah. No knees. Fucking no knees Bailey out there. Just
no knee Bailey and Nia Jax, who fucking stinks. I don't care.
She's terrible. I don't know why the worm has turned on her. They're wrong. Everyone's wrong.
These hipster reviewers who want to tell you Nia Jax is good.
They're wrong.
She's not good. They're wrong. And they have this awful match, and then we're waiting around for Tiffy time to come out so they can do their little stage performance. This encapsulates the company and why it stinks. So next up we had Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. We have ourselves a grudge match here, Rich Craich.
Oh yeah, I hated a real good hatred feud, a blood feud. These two used to be aligned and partners and best friends, and now they hate each other. Man, let's go, let's fight.
Yeah, and what happens here? We have a whole ass match, and we're waiting for Carlito and McDonagh to come out. Again, why even have the matches? Like maybe Vince was right. Can we just not have the matches and just skip right to the stage performances, the little one-act plays that they love to do? Because that's what all of these matches always are. And it's like, this is why their crowds, a lot of the time, sit on their hands while the matches are happening, because they know nothing important is happening until the little stage performance at the end of the matches. This shit is impossible to enjoy. Rich, I can't. This shit sucks. Who won the match? Priest won, right?
Damian Priest won, but it was bad. It was bad and nothing happened, and you'll never in your life remember anything from this match ever. After this show, by 11 p.m. Central Time today on October 10th, you will close your laptop, you'll shut down your computer, you will never again ever think of Damian Priest versus Finn Balor from WWE Bad Blood 2024. There's nothing, not a second, not a one spot, not nothing. You'll remember nothing from this match ever. It's completely nothing happening, and then you just waited for people to run in, and eventually Damian won.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on November 5th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.
Well, one match I would like to never remember is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan.
Oh my God, this was one of the worst fucking pay-per-view matches I've seen in a very long time. This was
even worse than Nia Jax and it's Bayley.
A lot worse. Like Monica, a multitude's worse than Nia Jax and Bayley. And think of how bad that has to be then.
So Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan, they come to the ring in the lowrider that they're selling. Is a replica that they're selling. It's a toy that they're selling to kids. So they come out in this stupid lowrider. You know my stance on this, Craich. I hate motor vehicles involved in my pro wrestling.
Right.
I never care. I never have any interest in this.
What if it's the Mattel Wreckin' Lucha Lowrider, though? No? Still?
I have never in my life, as a wrestling fan, thought that a wrestler was cooler because they entered the ring in a car. Not one time. It has never works for me. I never one time in my fandom popped and got excited when a babyface destroyed a heel's car while the heel goes, "Not my car! That's my car!" But promoters love these motor vehicles involved in pro wrestling. I think it is the most derivative shit. Cough. I never want to see it again. And yet we have to keep saying it.
I know. I don't know why
a
viewer at home would have to care. Why would I care that The Rock's Lincoln Continental got destroyed by Stone Cold Steve Austin? You know what I mean? It's just like, okay.
You shouldn't care.
I don't
You
care.
Don't care.
Right, okay. And it's not just that. It's every single time. It's like, hey, Randy Orton, like the infamous Kofi Kingston, like pouring paint on Randy Orton's like NASCAR or whatever. Like, I don't care. Why would I care about this?
How about dumping pennies into Chris Jericho's car? How about that? These fucking motor vehicles.
I love it. Car angles, man.
Remember FTR's old-timey pickup truck?
And their little beater dump truck, yeah.
FTR's old-timey pickup, and the one time it wouldn't start, and Ball just sitting there turning the fucking key, and it wouldn't start. On a live dive.
I do remember that. He's just like, God damn it, motherfucker.
Maybe because it's a 1942. Maybe that's why it didn't start.
Well, now we know where Hare's road rage started, probably. Yeah, he probably got pissed about that, yeah. He probably got triggered by that moment again. So.
God, enough with the motor vehicles, please.
But this is the WWE Mattel Wreckin' Lucha Lowrider, though. Available now at Toys R Us and Target or whatever the fuck. It's not available at Toys R Us. Don't go to Toys R Us. Your Toys R Us is probably closed. Don't go to Toys R Us.
God, do you really think there's people? We talk about
whatever you're going to say is yes. Whatever you're going to say, unfortunately, my answer is yes.
We talk about the Jim from accounting who enjoys who yeets when he goes to the shows.
Right. My phone salesman that wants to talk to random people about Jimmy Uso. Yeah.
Just seemingly normal 35-year-old men who live normal lives and have decent jobs. They drive a Hyundai. They got 2 kids and a white picket fence, but yet they like to yeet when they go to wrestling shows.
Yeah.
And these are the people who are like, oh, what a cool lowrider. Or they're like, oh, wow, so-and-so came to the ring on a motorcycle. Like, they think that's cool. There's people who enjoy this,
I know.
Right? Like, it's not like, no, I'm asking. Like,
no, I know there is.
Think that
there is.
Like, I never understood it. At no stage of my fandom did I ever understand this phenomenon.
Other people having cool cars. Oh, that's awesome that this person I'm watching on TV has a car.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't drive that car that Dom and Liv were in if you paid me. It's not, that's not my thing, admittedly. But I don't know. You could offer me that car for free under the condition that I have to keep it and not resell it, and I would say no thanks and ask you to get out of my driveway. I'm just not interested. I don't care. I don't think the car is cool. I never think any of these. I didn't think FTR's old timey truck was cool. I don't even remember what kind of car Jericho had that got the pennies dumped in it. I couldn't even tell you what kind of car it was because I just don't ever care about any of this shit. I got no interest in it.
I did find out a funny thing about the Dom Lowrider. So I remember Liv was in the passenger seat, and then when she got out, she kind of straddled Dom and gave him a little kiss or whatever. So I'm sure the WWE universe went nuts about that. I found out I'm looking up Dom Mysterio Bad Blood Lowrider, and if you go on Google, the YouTube thumbnail shows Liv like straddling Dom to get over, and she's like kissing him or whatever. It's a very gratuitous. It's quite the YouTube thumbnail. I'll tell you that. But when you click it though, it seems that someone told them they cannot have that thumbnail. So it's hard to explain. But when you click it, it shows the actual YouTube video, and the actual YouTube video is just them in the seats, riding in there. So someone said, no, you can't use the video for straddling him in our thumbnail. We're a family friendly operation here in WWE.
We got a global brand here. I mean, I just, as stated many times, what's the least you could care about something? That's how much I care about Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom. This is just the total antithesis of what I want, need, or care about in my pro wrestling. This match was abysmal. Like, if the match was like some killer match, you could at least be like, all right. The match was fucking terrible.
No, Liv is horrible. And we've been saying this for years,
yeah,
but
she stinks.
She's
always stunk.
Bad.
She's no good. And again, this was another match on the show. 4 out of 5, Rich, which simply existed to set up like someone else returning or coming in at the end when they brought in Raquel.
Right. You had Dom. You had Dom in a shark cage, by the way, if we did not state that. So he was outside the ring, and the entire time the crowd was just chanting stuff at Dom Mysterio. They didn't give a fuck about Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan having a professional wrestling match. They didn't care about Liv Morgan working over Rhea Ripley's knee, and Michael Cole and oh, what a masterful performance by Liv Morgan. She's attacking Rhea Ripley's knee and taking it out. Nobody cared. They just kept chanting "Fuck you, Dom. Dom, you suck. Dom, Dom, Dom." All this sort of stuff. And the wrestlers had to look at each other and then point at Dom every so often. Like, it was all about the guy in the shark cage. And then he's like, he gets out of the shark cage because, of course, he does. And they go, "Oh, he picked the lock." Okay, he picked the lock of the shark cage. And then he's just hanging out in the shark cage. And then, of course, like you said, it was even more ridiculous than that. So they're midway through this match, and Rhea's in like complete control, and she is a very dumb babyface. Like, WWE has a lot of very dumb baby faces. Wrestling has a lot of dumb baby. I should really say it. It's like wrestling seems to have a very, very difficult time booking baby faces. But Rhea Ripley's got Liv completely under control, and then tells the referee, who's wearing the referee cam from Halloween Havoc 1991. I don't know why we're still doing the referee cam for some reason. And she goes, "I have unfinished business, so let me do this." And the referee goes, "Okay, sure." Which was very strange. And even Michael Cole and Corey Graves were like, "Well, that's weird that the referee would just let her, leave the ring and do." So whatever. She goes underneath the ring, gets a WWE kendo stick. Great. Love it. I haven't seen a kendo stick attack in an hour, so perfect. And then she starts trying to hit Dom Mysterio with the kendo stick, and that's when Raquel Rodriguez comes out and makes her return. But like I said, just a dog shit match. And we're just waiting for, okay, whose music's going to hit, who's going to interfere, who's going to return. It's Raquel Rodriguez. Okay, great. Cool.
Man, you gave that way more of a recap than it all deserved.
I apologize. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but
I don't know why I'm giving.
I have all these notes. I have all these notes. Why do I have all these notes? Why did I write this much down? What am I doing? My life.
Yeah, to contrast with my notes that say this was fucking terrible. I don't care about cars. Raquel. That's what my notes say.
That's probably a better way to sum this up. Yeah, and. I've made this rant a lot too, but like Rhea Ripley feels like somebody that is, again, similar to the Cody thing, feels like a bit player in like the larger Dom Mysterio story. And I know that like ultimately she's gonna get her revenge or whatever, but it's like at some point you need to have Rhea Ripley be her own person. Like there was a long time where she was the one that kind of controlled Dom, and we knew that that she was like the star of that act or whatever, was Rhea Ripley. But over time, it's like she just keeps getting neutered even more, especially as a babyface, because she's just a dumb babyface, and WWE doesn't really know how to book babyfaces all that well. So she just looks like a complete idiot most of the times now. And like I said, the match is, nobody gives a fuck about Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan. They care about Dom Mysterio, and they're just chanting for Dom Mysterio and telling him fuck you, and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. It feels like they're in very dangerous territory with Rhea Ripley, but who cares? Nobody cares.
Levesque loves him some Raquel.
He loves that back. He loves a good muscular back. That is for sure.
He loves the back. He's into the back. He has always pushed Raquel hard. NXT. She's at, how many chances does she have in the main roster? I mean, 1 million chances.
We're up to 4 or 5 at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. He loves him some Raquel. That's his wheelhouse too. That's his wheelhouse too. If you're picking up on him laying down. Okay, he likes him some Raquel.
Some strong brunette with a good back. Yeah, that's been his thing.
Vince loved to push. Vince McMahon loved to push a pretty blonde, and Triple H he loves. You could tell he loves him some Raquel. She's gonna get 1 million chances. I got nothing against her. She's fine. But here we go again with Raquel. All right, so this show. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, the whole feud, all this, decidedly not my shit. Most of WWE, obviously, decidedly not my shit. I am going to look back historically and wonder what the fuck it was people enjoyed about this era of the company. It is perplexing to me. Like, I was not an Attitude Era fan, as is, had been widely noted on this show for almost the past 15 years. Can you believe I could say that?
I know.
Almost the past 15
Sickening.
years. But with that said, I understand what people liked about the Attitude Era. I'm not ignorant to why it was appealing. It was the perfect wrestling product for that time and place. It was South Park culture, right? Which was, it just all worked for that time and place, for that age of male that was predominantly attracted to the Attitude Era. I get why people liked it. I just didn't like it myself. I genuinely don't understand what people like about this current hot period of the company. I don't fucking get it. And I don't think I ever will. What was decidedly my shit was this Hell in a Cell match. So we talked last week about how, all right, Punk wants this. Drew's going to go along with whatever, because Drew is, an agreeable guy and a hard worker and all of that. Are they finally going to throw Punk a bone? Are they finally, he tried to sneak in the strap match, but they had to put the goofy lights in the corner and build it around the bracelet and all this. And, and like we said last week, this match was really going to make or break this feud. It's been, from our perspective and fans who think like us, I have to be careful how I say these things. This feud has been an absolute bust to this point. Okay. It's been it's been garbage centered around a fucking charm bracelet. It's junk. Totally underwhelming and underperforming from that standpoint for something that the rare WWE feud that wrestling fans were like, all right, maybe I can sink my teeth into this. And they built it around a fucking friendship bracelet. So this Hell in a Cell match was, all right, are they going to throw Punk a bone? And are we finally going to get something decent and substantial out of what should have been one of the great feuds, but hasn't been? And we were skeptical. You a little more skeptical than me, but we were both skeptical that they were going to do that. But they did it. We got blood. Both guys got color. I guess we could debate whether whether the toolbox spot was these two guys going into business for themselves and doing a little oopsie. We didn't know that was going to bust them open, knowing full well that it was going to bust them open. I'm skeptical as to whether Drew bladed, because when he hits him with the box, he hits him flush with the box. It didn't, like, the corner of the box didn't catch.
It was the top.
It was
the bottom of the bot. Yeah, it was pretty flush, like you said.
And the camera goes off Drew, and then when the camera comes back on Drew, he's got this gusher coming straight down from his forehead, right where you would blade. Look, I don't know. I don't know anything. Just watching it, I was thinking, oh, I think he bladed. But maybe it was hard way. I don't know. But the blood stopped not that long after that.
Yeah, and I know people are going to bring up that they saw a photo of Drew or a photo of someone's, skull with, staples in it. I would say, remember that pro wrestling is the art of pretending that you're hurt when you're not really hurt. That's all I'll say. And I don't know. I don't know.
Look.
I don't know.
All I'm going to say is I wouldn't be surprised if it was hard way, and I wouldn't be surprised if he bladed.
He was bleeding like a guy that bladed. I'll say that.
He was.
Because that's not how normal
mean
people
that he
bleed.
did blade.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. The point is, that spot, though, I thought it was a cool spot. I didn't have any problem with it.
It's cool.
We're not doing this chair shot thing. I don't give a fuck. Like, go to another show for that. There are plenty of places where you could hear people talk about whether chair shots are irresponsible, whether this toolbox thing was, analogous to a chair shot or double standard. I don't care. I have
I'm good with all
little
of them.
interest
I'm good with
in
all
that
of them.
discussion.
Yeah, I'm good with all of them. As long as everybody knows the risks involved, go for it. I don't care. Whatever you decide that you want to do with your body, knock yourself out.
You want to smash a toolbox into your head, be my guest. I don't want to. I'm just not interested in the discussion. So we're not going to do that here. If that's what you wanted out of this, I don't know. Literally every other podcast that is
I don't
about
care.
that.
I don't care. I do find the double standard very interesting, as think pieces galore will occur when AEW does stuff like this and WWE does something like this. You don't hear a thing, but I don't care. I don't really give a shit.
that will lead us to criticizing other outlets, and then we always get in trouble when we do that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing that.
I feel like what we do, I feel like this is kind of off the beaten path, but I kind of feel like what we do includes criticism of the media and other outlets, even though we are an outlet. Because I kind of see us as outsiders in some ways. And I think that media criticism is part of what we do. With that said, when we criticize media, when those media people take issue with that, I always let them have at me. Historically, over the years, I could give examples. I'm not going to name the people. Some of them are listening, where they took issue with something I said. And, okay, here's my phone number. Look, if I'm going to criticize people and they don't like it, they have a right to defend themselves and give me shit, right? I just think that's fair. But if we have this conversation, we're inevitably going to be tearing down other media or criticizing other media. You don't want to do that. And I just have no interest in this topic. I never have. You know that. I'm so bored by this safety topic and this pearl clutching and, whatever. I don't have any interest in it. But anyway, I thought the toolbox spot was cool. I thought the whole match was pretty cool. Now, I'm watching the match. Obviously, I hated the fucking finish. They could not help themselves. And when they pulled out that bag of fucking charms, they flushed it.
I knew when the bag of beads came out. I was like, because I watched this match. I loved it. I loved it, by the way. And I did not think the beads really ruined it for me. But as I was watching Drew with the bag, and I went, oh no, this bag's going to have beads in it, isn't it? And then he poured beads out, and I was like, Joe is somewhere in this universe. I don't know if Joe's watching this right now or in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know when he's watching this match, but he is raging right now at the fact that they could not help themselves. You had to get the charms involved. Had to get the charms.
I don't know if raging is the right description, but I did let out a chuckle, and I'm like, they just cannot help themselves. They have to ruin everything. It did ruin it for me. I thought, independent of, once again, basing the finish and the theme of the match around the stupid fucking charms, which only an imbecile could care about. I will never relent on this. I will never back down. I'll debate anyone. I will never accept that it's good storytelling. I will never, ever, ever relent on the CM Punk Drew McIntyre friendship bracelet. I am never relenting on this, ever, in my life. Not happening. It is so just reductive to what these guys built in terms of a feud and what could have been. And then they go out and they finally have a match to match the intensity of the feud in this Hell in a Cell. They deliver all the way. Now, I will say this. I did not think it was some 5-star classic like people are saying. That's a bunch of fucking horse shit. Let's pump the brakes. It wasn't that good.
It was good. But yeah, I'm not there.
Good.
I'm not there. I'm not there either.
This was a perfect example. Okay? WWE fans are like sharks in the ocean. Okay? They swim around mindlessly. And if they stop swimming, they die, right? They just got to keep swimming around, these sharks. And if you go out there in a boat and you give them a little bit of chum, what do the sharks do? They go crazy. They come up to the surface. They eat the fucking chum, right? Anything that resembles good pro wrestling is like chum to these WWE fans.
And very classic pro wrestling too, which is in there was a lot of stuff that was maybe, the way the weapons they use and some of the things they use, but essentially this was just, this was just a blood feud blow off cage match from any territory in the 80s. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just two guys bleeding buckets, punching each other.
This is what these WWE fans are. They will tell you they don't care about pro wrestling. They'll tell you that they don't like red. They tell you it's all about stories. You give them a fucking whiff of pro wrestling, and they can't wait to tell you that they just watched a 5-star match. That's how these people are. They're full of shit. Okay? So that's what this was. This was a really, really good match. This will probably be the best match in WWE this year. I never once, while watching this, even before the charm bracelet shit at the end, which took me right out of it, was like, wow, I'm watching one of the greatest matches I've ever seen, which is what a 5-star match is. That wasn't it. Come on. Don't make me come on and criticize something I like. But when you sit here and tell me that this is a 5-star match, I think you're out of your mind. This is not one of the greatest matches of all time. This is the best match in 2024 WWE, which means it's like a 4.5-star match. That's what this was. Then they busted out the beads and completely wiped all of that away, at least for me. It's like they threw everything away that they just did. They bled for nothing. Because that's junk. It's garbage. It's dangling keys in front of dumb, because this is what these dumb fans, it ruined it. Why couldn't they just do this fucking match, right? And Rich, you told me the charm bracelet shit was over because at the end of the strap match you told me it was over.
I thought it was because we didn't get the charm bracelet. We got beads from the bracelet. He was adding
the same thing.
He was adding quote insult to injury is what he was doing in that. I know. They wanted to blow off. They
right out of it.
They wanted to blow off. Yeah, I kind of knew it was going to do that for you. It didn't for me because I think there was enough good stuff in this match that I liked. And I thought it was a nice way to kind of cap off this dumb story in a bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge way. And they don't need to do that. For the record, you shouldn't do wink, wink, nudge, nudge in a fucking blood feud, blow off cage match. But I get what they were doing. They wanted the final thing for Punk to say, all right, you know what? I don't care about the beads. I don't care about the bracelet. Here you go. And, shoved them in Drew's mouth and then hit him with the go to sleep or whatever. I agree that it was dumb. I agree it was goofy. It did not take me out of it, maybe as much as it took you out of it. But in totality, I thought it was a very, very good match. One of the better WWE pay-per-view matches you're going to see this year and in a long time as well, because they don't really have matches like this. Like we said, this was just a match where two guys went out there and just fucking wrestled, and they're bleeding buckets. And this is a match that this company really, really just does not do anymore. But I thought it was really good. I did not think it was a 5-star classic. And one of my gripes is that it felt very early on to the match we were doing let's play with WWE branded weapons. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it was a minute or two in, and Punk's already going for tables, and they're grabbing chairs, and they're grabbing kendo sticks, and all that sort of stuff. And it just didn't need all that sort of junk with it. Now, what they did with the steel steps, I thought was very good because that was using parts of the ring in a brutal way. You have Drew taking that horrific bump on there. You had the guys, doing suplexes and shit onto the steel steps. So I like that, but I really could have done without the tables and the chairs and the kendo sticks and all that. It just wasn't necessary. But I thought overall, really, really good. And one thing that I liked about this, and that's how I know these guys are pros, and then I'll let you kind of have your last little bead talk here, is they did a very good job of selling how much the cage hurt. Very early on in the match, Drew McIntyre threw CM Punk into the cage, and Punk grabbed at his back and went, oh, God, damn it. Selling that it fucking hurts to get whipped into this cage. And selling the fact that the cage is a weapon. Because so often we see guys get whipped into the cage, and it's just part of the match. You know what I mean? And that'll happen. Elimination Chambers, it happens 1,000 times. Hell in a Cells, it happens 1,000 times. Guys just whip each other into the cage, back and forth. And Drew did it in kind too, where Punk then whipped Drew into the cage, and Drew went and grabbed at his back immediately. And I like that. It's a nice little touch to make it seem like, okay, these guys get it. They understand that you're supposed to make the cage a weapon as well. You're supposed to make everything in this ring a weapon. I just thought we got a little too much into the black tables and black WWE branded chairs and taped together kendo sticks and all that sort of stuff. So I could have done without that. But overall, I thought it was very, very good and clearly one of the best WWE matches you're going to see this year, probably. I would guess that there's nothing on pay-per-view that WWE is going to present the rest of the year that's going to be better than this. There's no way.
I mean, I liked it, but it did drag at times. There's valid criticism
Certainly.
of the match outside of the beads. Now, the beads, look, if you come over this Sunday, okay, especially since the Rams are on a bye week, if you come over this Sunday, I'm going to get up at the crack of dawn, like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm going to start making my traditional Italian Sunday gravy. I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to get out my pork. I'm going to sear the pork. Just sear it. You just want to kiss it in the pan and sear it up. I'm going to get that in the pot. I'm going to make my meatballs from scratch. My patented Joe Lanza meatballs, which the girl, she's adorable. She puts on her little apron. She's my sous chef. She's going to help me make the meatballs. She likes to ball them up. And then I'm going to make my meatballs. I'm going to get them in the pot with my sauce. And I'm going to make the sauce. going to chop the fresh garlic. I'm going to make my patented secret recipe, Joe Lanza Sunday gravy with the pork, with the meatballs. I'm going to get a little Italian sausage in there. After that, I'm going to let the flavors fuck for a while, right? So I'm going to leave that low and slow on the stove, low and slow, probably 5-6 hours. Got to come down, stir every 20 minutes so nothing sticks to the bottom of the pan. A lot of love and care has to go into this, right? And then when I feel like taste it every 20 minutes. And when I, adjust it. And then right when I feel it's just right, I'm going to boil up the pasta. Rich Crate, you come over, you could enjoy a delicious Joe Lanza Sunday gravy. Okay.
Sounds great.
But here's the catch. Yeah, it does. Sounds awesome. Right?
I'm in. I'm salivating. I'm like a dog here, just salivating at this idea. Yeah, let's go.
You get a little pork, Rich, the pork, it just melts it. It just falls right off the bone. It's just so good when it, you just have no idea. So I'm going to plate it up for you. I'm going to give you a little pork. I'm going to give you a couple of those meatballs, maybe a sausage link, right? I'm going to get the sauce on the plate. And here's what I'm going to do, Rich. Then I'm going to pull down my pants. And I'm going to take a big steamy fucking shit right on top of the plate as well. And then I'm going to slide it over across the table to you and tell you to enjoy. That's what these beads were at the end of the match. That's what the beads were. It was a big steamy fucking shit on top of a beautiful plate of Joe Lanza prepared Sunday gravy, which sounds great. But then with the big stinky shit on top, kind of, got to throw the plate in the garbage. Ruins it. They ruined it. They WWE'd it up. They cannot help themselves. They can't help themselves, Rich. They can't just... And did their fans need the beats? Would any of these people have enjoyed the match less without the beats?
Oh, no, it'd have been fine. That'd have been fine.
It would have been fine. And then everybody... They can't help themselves. They do everything right, and then they shit on the plate, and then they slide it over to you. And a lot of these people eat it up. Not me. Not me. So, as a total package, I mean, if my stream would have went out before the bead spot, and then it comes back on, and Punk is celebrating, fucking Cult of Personality playing, I'd probably say it was a 4.25, 4.5 star match with the beads. Now I have no use for it. I completely lose all interest. But I'm glad for you it didn't have that same effect.
No, it didn't. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit when, of course they did that, but it didn't affect it at all for me. I thought the Drew bump at the end with the into the steel steps was good, and I thought Punk doing the go to sleep to kind of put the final stab at Drew was nice, and it does feel like they have now gone their separate ways. But were you a little bit surprised? Maybe you weren't surprised, but I guess I'll ask, did you assume that Punk was going to win this feud?
Yes.
Okay.
He was positioned as the babyface.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, you look, and anytime they put him on TV, the quarter hour looks like Mount Everest. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal television draw for them. He's a bigger star than Drew. There's more places you can go with Punk than you can with Drew. So you got to protect Punk at the end of the day for as long as you're going to have him, and make sure that you draw as much money as you can with him until Mount Phil erupts, right? So, I thought he would win the feud.
Okay. I kind of did too.
Why?
No, I did too. I did too. It's just, it's funny because he doesn't lose a lot. And I didn't think this was going to be the spot where he would lose either. But he's been on quite the winning streak. If you combine his AEW and his WWE run, not a guy that's doing too many JOBs these days or ever. But
that doesn't bother me. I mean, your star should win there.
Oh, I agree. I agree too. I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. It's just I did see people that were a little miffed by it, but I was not. I was like, no, Punk's clearly the guy that's going to win.
No,
and Drew loses nothing. And Drew loses nothing by losing either.
And Drew is a guy who works hard, and he's a good guy to have on the roster. He's not a big star though. He's not any kind of big difference making star or anything like that. And again, Punk was positioned as the babyface. If Punk had been positioned as the heel, yeah, that's a different story. Then maybe but it's when you look at the lay of the land now with Roman being back to the run up to Mania. The Rock being back, you've got Cody, you've got Punk, you've got Gunther, who they're getting behind. You have John Cena, who's coming back for a farewell tour. No disrespect to Drew, but he's like 7th or 8th in the pecking order.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
At best.
At
best, he's 7th or 8th in the pecking order. So I don't have a problem with this at all. What I do find interesting is now, Punk is going to go away and sell this match right in time for Riyadh season. So we thought maybe he'd go suck the blood money covered dick, but apparently he's not doing that.
He's been careful to avoid it so far. He has been careful to avoid it so far. We'll see if he can no longer avoid it, and eventually he's going to have to, suck that blood money covered dick. Eventually it's going to happen. But yeah, Riyadh season 2024 does not appear to be the time when he's going to do it. So.
You think it's going to happen, or do you think, I don't know. I don't know if this is a coincidence. I think maybe he's like, look, I'm not going over there. Look, CM Punk is a man with a lot of fake convictions.
I was going to say the man does not stand by a lot of convictions these days. So I don't know. I don't know.
He's a guy who talks a big game, but then doesn't always walk the walk. But I do think there's some facets of his life that where his convictions are genuine. And maybe this is one of them, since it seems strategic that his feud is wrapping up and he's going away just in time for this show, which he undoubtedly would have been booked on otherwise, right?
What I do think is something as well is that I think he understands how blatant he was about not wanting to be on that show, and how I wonder if he's more worried about the pushback and the getting sent the blood money dick tweet 1,000 times. I wonder if that affects it and influences it more.
Hold on a second. He's not on social media. Rich.
Oh,
CM Punk.
Okay.
CM Punk is not on social media.
Oh, okay. Cool.
No. Yeah. So he wouldn't
see it, right? So I don't know why I'm even assuming that would possibly occur. I wonder if his conviction is more the embarrassment that would come from a bunch of people saying, "Whoa, are you the same guy? Right. This you?" ? That sort of stuff. I wonder if maybe is influencing him a little bit more than the actual conviction, but I don't know. Good for him, I guess, that he's not on there yet. So I guess I'm
going to do something very dangerous. I'm going to take him at face value. How's that?
Go for it. You can't even get to a sentence. You can't even get to a sentence. I'm saying it, but
yeah. I don't know. Well, look, the bottom line is he's not going to work the show.
Yeah, he's out. So
okay, you can judge the motivations as you see fit. So anyway, that was Bad Blood. They did announce another one of these record gate deals that they announced.
Yeah. You guys all spent a lot of money for tickets, so we got the largest gate, and everyone went, yeah.
It was under 15,000 people, which means they all paid an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, and I've said this last week, when you have for the pay-per-views, are all going to sell out, and people will pay. It doesn't matter. You can charge them anything. UFC proved that over the years, that they could basically just charge anything, especially when they're super hot. WWE is proving that you can basically charge people anything when they're going to buy the tickets, and people will buy them. So, there was a point in time where AEW probably could have charged people anything they wanted, and there were a lot of arguments that their prices were too low. Do you remember that? And now that they can't sell any tickets, people argue that the prices are too high. It's just funny how now AEW charges more, and when they can't sell the tickets, and they were charging less when they probably could have bilked people for a lot more at that time. But yeah, this is just another example. It's they're going to pay. They're into this bloodline stuff and Roman, and now that the Rock's back. So you could expect more of these announcements for these big shows coming up. But I don't know. You got anything else on this Bad Blood?
I have nothing else on Bad Blood. I would love to close the chapter on our WWE segment here on this flagship. So let's do that. Book closed. All right, let's move on to WrestleDream. AEW WrestleDream coming up this Saturday. By the way, we will be going live immediately following the show. Instant Reaction Live, the most in-depth, extensive post-pay-per-view review show in the game. Nobody does it better than we do. Nobody breaks down the shows like we do. Nobody breaks down the matches like we do. Nobody else. All those other ones, they're all done. We're still going. We're like 3 matches in when they're all done, man. We are extensive, detailed. You get a little bit of banter as well, but it's always a fun time. The chat room is always going nuts. Very fun time to join us. So make sure you join us this Saturday, immediately following WrestleDream for Instant Reaction Live. Because it's always, I always love doing these shows. I think you do too.
The Instant Reaction Lives?
Yeah, they're always a blast.
Yeah, well, AEW is a great pay-per-view company. Not a good one. They're a great one. They have a lot of other flaws, and I pointed out a lot of them on the Dynamite review this week. And one area where it's really hard to criticize them is the pay-per-views. Now, their worst pay-per-views have been like they never have bad pay-per-views, like where you're like, this show fucking sucked. Most of the time, their shows are very good to excellent to all-time great, somewhere in that range. So, the build to this pay-per-view was very spotty at best, and I guess we'll get into that as we preview it. But when you look at the lineup, you have to trust that the show is going to deliver. It's a good-looking lineup, and AEW pay-per-views almost always deliver. And in contrast, they're not going to be five. It's not going to be 5 matches, and they're not going to be waiting around for a one-act play at the end. Although AEW has been going down that road a little more lately, with a lot of distraction finishes, and you were dead on when you said they're a bad finish company. Now, hopefully, this is just a phase, and it's not something that continues to permeate the company. But I guess we can get more into those issues as we go into the individual matches. But yeah, Instant Reaction Live on what day is this show? Saturday. Yeah, it's football season, so it's Saturday. This Saturday night, $10 tier is a great time to jump in because we also have the Hall of Fame stuff coming up. So we have started to book some guests. There will be some return guests. There's already at least one first-time guest that's going to be on the Hall of Fame shows, possibly more first-time guests as we move along and book some other people. We'll see. But it's going to be a mix of returning guests, first-time guests as we do our Hall of Fame shows, which is some of the people's favorite audio that we do. So those are coming up. We've got a couple locked in, and they should be recorded over the next couple of weeks. The ballots aren't due until the first week of November, but of course, remember the results aren't revealed for many months after that. So it's not as if these Hall of Fame shows don't serve any kind of purpose from the standpoint of entertainment for our listeners, even after the ballots are submitted. Although we do like to do the shows before the ballots are due, so voters can listen and take into consideration the conversations that we're having with the experts that we bring on. So those shows are coming up too. Those will be on the $5 tier. So if you're someone who jumps in for the Hall of Fame audio, and there are people who jump in and out for that, get in now. Now's the time, because those could pop up any day now. Those we're going to start recording those imminently. If you want the Instant Reaction Live for WrestleDream, that's the $10 tier. The $10 tier will also get you literally everything we do. So probably a good time just to hop on the $10 tier and make sure that you get everything we do, at least for the next 30 days. So yeah, WrestleDream Instant Reaction Live this Saturday.
Yep, can't wait. So right now, the card as of October 10th, we're recording this live, obviously, October 10th, 10 p.m. Central. This is what we have right now. I'm sure matches maybe will be added, probably 0 hour. A couple more will be put on there. But so far, 1 0-hour match, ROH World TV title, Atlantis Jr. defending the title against Brian Cage. So 1 0-hour match announced so far. As far as the main show, man, you got plenty of big loaded show. Yeah, what do you got?
I thought MXM Collection versus Acclaimed was a pre-show match.
So far,
that's not true.
that is earmarked right now, as far as I know, as a main show. Now, I hope to God that thing goes to the pre-show. We do not need that on the main show, but right now it is listed as a main show match.
I hope they fall ill like Britt Baker. And it
I hope they get strep throat too. I do not need that. That is a perfect match for. All right, Rich, did you watch the pre-show? And I go, gosh darn it, I was getting food and I just only saw the end of MX Collection and the Acclaim. But you can let me know what happened. Yeah, I'm hoping and praying that thing gets put on the 0 hour. But as of right now, sadly, it is on the main show, and I guess we'll start there because who could possibly care about this match? I mean, certainly not me.
Did you see the segment they did? I think it was on Collision
with Hans or whatever
Hans.
the fuck. Yeah, sorry, not you, Hans. I have a Hans dog here that just.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, not you, Hans.
Remember every time we talk about Alexa Bliss, your Google thing.
Yeah. Well, it's my Amazon Alexa. I got rid of that stupid thing because it kept saying hello. What do you need? I'm like, all right, no. I get enough of this shit. So I got the Google. So I have to say another thing to get it. But yeah, that was brutal.
What do you say for Google?
I'm not saying it. Hey Google. You say hey Google.
Oh, hey Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you ask them for?
I mostly just set timers. I pretty much set timers. It's used as two things. It sets timers in the kitchen, and it lets me know if my dogs can eat whatever I'm about to feed my dogs. It's like I'm holding a fruit or a vegetable.
And I'm raspberry. And
I'm always like, I think it's fine, but just in case.
Yeah.
Yes, dogs love raspberry. All right, cool. And then I throw them down. That's it's only like, there's only like two foods. It's like onions and grapes that they can't have. But just in case, I want to make sure that I didn't kill our dogs by feeding them a raspberry or whatever. So I always go, hey, can dogs eat this? And they, dogs can eat this. It's a very healthy treat. Okay, great. Boom, boom, boom. Then they get the raspberries or whatever. So.
Yeah. The Alexa gimmick. That must suck. Like if you have someone in the house named Alexa too, right?
You probably can't have it. Yeah, you probably just can't have it.
There's no setting where you can change it to like, "Hey Bertha," like just.
You might. I think you can change the trigger. I think you can change what the trigger right? is. Like,
because if you're named Alexa, that's just not functional. So you got to change it to like, "Hey Trisha."
Right. Something. I'm sure there's something you can do that to change the trigger, or you have to use a certain word in a certain way. I'm not sure, but.
What happened to Bertha? Nobody names anyone Bertha anymore.
There's very few Berthas. Yeah, there's not a lot of Berthas coming through, and I can't imagine anybody is planning on having a baby named Bertha anytime soon either. So I feel like it's a dead name. I feel like it's dead for right now. It might come back. You never know, but right now it feels very dead. Bertha.
I have my grandmothers have the most dead names you could possibly. One of my grandmothers was Ernestine.
Ethel, Bertha,
Ernestine, which you never like. There are no Ernestines.
No, Ernestine's
like
done.
literally none.
Ernestine's done.
And my other one was Eleanor. It just
I
those are the most grandma names.
I think Eleanor could come back. I feel like Eleanor could come back.
Ernestine, no.
Ernestine's
no
out.
shot,
I think
right?
Ernestine is out. Ethel is out. Bertha is out. I think Eleanor. Maybe it just needs a well-timed, Roosevelt documentary on Netflix or whatever to get people reignited on the Eleanor Roosevelt, train, and that might help a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, something would be in that doc to cancel her.
Sure.
Yeah. It's like, Eleanor Roosevelt is fucking canceled. Right. That would, because it's something she said fucking 87 years ago.
Gertrude.
Someone in the chat
Gertrude's a good one. Yeah.
Gertrude.
Yeah. No one's ever going to be named Gertrude ever again.
Yeah. Gertrude's out. Yeah, but Bertha, I think Bertha has a stigma attached. You instantly think of a fat girl.
Yeah, you think of Bertha Faye. You think of pro wrestler Bertha Faye. Yeah.
Well, that's why they gave her that name. I think.
Right.
Was Bertha for whatever reason? What's the genesis of that? How did Bertha get associated with overweight?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the origin of the name Bertha being sullied by instant association to being overweight?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. Bertha is a Germanic name meaning bright one, bright gift, bright joy. So yeah, it's not large. I don't know how it became the case. In modern times, the name is associated. Oh, here we go. In modern times, the name is associated with an unusually large example of a class of objects. Many large machines are named Bertha, named after the World War I howitzer named the Big Bertha. So maybe they called that thing the Big Bertha, and everybody just decided that was now the thing that we're going to call everything.
Big things are now called Bertha.
Yeah.
Right? So because that thing was called some World War I weapon,
some fucking tank or something like that. I don't know what this thing is. A howitzer. A howitzer was called Big Bertha. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that must have done it. That must have done in the name, right? Because no one touches that one. I feel like there's more women's names that have just kind of than men's names, but that's probably not true. There's probably a lot of men's names too that have fallen out of favor that we're just not thinking about. But I feel like there's more examples of women's names that have fallen out of favor.
Agnes is a good one that Nathan brings up. No one's named Agnes anymore. Edna,
and
Edna,
and these
Agnes.
are all names we associate with old ladies because at some point people stopped naming their children these things.
Yeah.
So all of the Ernestines and Agneses are going to be dead very shortly, and that's just going to be the end of it. And then at that point you won't even associate it with grandparents or things like that. You're just going to be like, I've never heard anyone named Gertrude before. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's funny because my grandmother Ernestine, her best friend's name was Gertrude. Ernestine and Gertrude running around Central Jersey together. It's like, there's not a pair of 19-year-olds named Ernestine and Gertrude.
Yeah, right.
Like taking selfies and posting on fucking Instagram. You know what I mean? It's like, but when they were in their primes in fucking 1950, there's a bunch of Ernestines and Gertrudes running around. I can't think of a male name as an example. You got a male example?
I don't really. Yeah, I don't have many popular. Let me look at let's look at the most popular male names in, what do you want to say? You want to go 1950? Let's go 1950. You said 1950 earlier. Let's see.
All right.
Top names of 1950. James, Michael, Robert. We're so unoriginal. Men are so boring. Everyone's still named all this shit anymore. Well, now there's like the Haydens, Cadens, and Jadens that have taken over, but you'll still get some James, John, David, William, Richard, Thomas, Mark, Charles, Stephen, Gary. There's a lot less Garys. Gary is losing a lot of steam. I will say Gary.
I think Gary's losing steam.
Gary is losing steam. Donald is also losing steam. Ronald is not doing well either. Ronald is struggling.
There's a couple of good examples in the chat. How about Elmer?
Elmer is done. Yeah, Elmer is
done. How about Dale? That's another one you don't get very often.
Yeah, Dale's Terry's starting to lose some favor.
Well, no, that's Terrence. Did you get a Terrence?
I think that's Roger. There's not a lot of Rogers out there anymore. I think Roger could come back though. That's one that I think people will think of as ironic pretty soon. But Dale's suffering. Dale's not doing well. The rest of these are pretty normal. I don't think any of these other ones are Harold. There's probably not a whole lot of new Harolds coming out. A lot of Harrys, Harolds. I don't know.
Yeah, Harold. Yeah, I guess those would be the.
Glenn is probably starting to lose a little bit of steam.
But the thing about every one of these is I could think of pro athletes that are using those right now, and those guys are like 25 years old.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't know a Gertrude.
Who do you have for Roger? Who's your current Roger?
Roger Bernardina played for the Nationals. Played for.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Roger Clemens. He's only in his early 60s, right?
Hold on a minute. Roger Clemens does not count. He's old.
He's not geriatric. He's in like his early 60s.
I guess.
All right, you want to say that's old? Okay. All right. If that's old, let me see. I give you another Roger.
No, you gave me the one. You gave me that one, dude. The
Roger Bernardina.
Yeah. You gave me the one. Any Bruces? What Bruces? Because you're gonna go with Bruce Sutter. Bruce, I'm like no. A current Bruce. Oh, I think there's a Bruce Brown in basketball. Yeah, of course, Bruce Brown. Yeah, there's Bruce Brown. So I'm out. Yeah, Bruce is good.
There's Bruce Zimmerman is a current MLB player. He can't even be 30 at this point.
All right, the chat is blowing
Smith.
up. We got a lot. We got Rufus, Wilbur. Those are good ones. Rufus and Wilbur.
These are Southern names. These aren't like
this is just the American South. Yeah. Lester.
Yeah.
Milton. Roland is a good one. Roland's
Milton. Roland and Milton are good. I guess there are some. Like Milton would definitely fuck Gertrude, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's no doubt about
Milton
that.
would take her to the drive-in and
yeah,
and then go to the place where they
finger
kiss.
Blaster.
Yeah, finger blaster at the place you kiss.
He'd go to the point. He'd take her to the point and finger blast Gertrude.
Right, for sure.
Right. I can't even imagine anyone named Gertrude getting finger blasted.
I know,
in
it's
a Camaro,
disgusting.
right?
Because when you
it's
think about it, because when you give that visualization, I can't believe we've gone here. When you get the visualization of Milton finger blasting Gertrude, you don't think of them as 19-year-olds, right? What do you think of them as?
You
think of them
That's
as
my point.
geriatrics, like sneaking out of the nursing home and finger blasting in the woods or whatever is what you think. You don't think about the malt. You don't think about the sock hop and the ice cream social and the 50s. No, you think of Milton and Gertrude as 78-year-olds finger blasting. That's what you think of.
Right. There's nobody named Edna on OnlyFans. They're just not.
Myrtle.
Zebekiah has been pitched. Again, that's
no,
just
I bet there's still Zebekiahs out there. Are you kidding me?
That's just Southern. Again, you see,
nah, you're gonna get some
like
Zebekiahs out in the fucking Amish country and shit. I would disagree that Zebekiah is losing.
Yeah, that's like a biblical name.
Yeah,
right?
Zebekiah is still out there for sure. Yeah, Shiny Wizard has a perfect finger blasting her over the town on a cliff. You have to drive up to the cliff. Yeah,
the point.
The point. Right.
Yeah.
It is 47 Studebaker and go to town. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, I have to be back before 9. My parents are gonna give it.
Lifting up her poodle skirt.
Right. Paul has said that Paul Wedding says he has gone to OnlyFans, and there's a lot of Ednas on OnlyFans. So, but I think those are ironic names. I don't know if those are true Ednas.
Those could be stage names, gimmick names,
so.
OnlyFans, right?
Yeah.
There's no. Ask him to look up Ernestine. See if
Ernestine, yeah.
How can you be horny for someone named Ernestine?
Right, you're not gonna, you're not gonna pull that out. You're not gonna be scrolling and say, "Oh, here we go," and then pull, get ready for, yeah.
My grandmother's friends called her Ernie for short. That's like you can't be horny for Ernie. A male or female
or
Ernie,
Bert.
for that matter.
Yeah, or Bert.
You cannot be horny for a man named Ernie, let alone a woman named Ernie. Like a man named Ernie is like a milkman or a mail carrier.
Or it looks like Ernie Accorsi. We were talking about Ernie Accorsi in our Discord this week.
Yeah.
That man looks like an Ernie. If you don't, I'm not even going to explain it. If you don't know who Ernie Accorsi is, look up Ernie Accorsi, and he looks exactly like a man named Ernie Accorsi.
Yes, he does. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's more women's names that fall out of favor than men. Because again, I think when you have a kid and you have a boy, you're just like, it's a boy. Just fucking name him John, And you have a girl, that's where people try to get cute with
They
it.
go nuts, yeah.
Yeah. They try to do something a little different when you have a girl. When you have a boy, you're just like, I don't know. Name him after his grandfather. You don't get as wacky when you have a boy, I think. Might be the reasoning behind that. I always talk about Ralph. There's no Ralphs anymore.
The
right?
Ralphs are in a tough spot right now too. Yeah.
Ralph is one that I don't think. Trying to think about athlete. There was Ralph Benershka. He was a place kicker for the Chargers in the '80s. But again, that guy's probably. He was also the host of Wheel of Fortune, the daytime version.
Oh wow! I was gonna say I was gonna think you were gonna go with Ralph Kiner. I can't believe you didn't go Ralph Kiner there to start.
There's Ralph Kiner too. Yeah, Ralph Kiner.
Ralph Sampson.
Ralph Bronca. Yeah, Sampson, Ralph Bronca.
Now Ralph Sampson, he's probably about the same age as Roger Clemens is.
He's in his 60s probably. Yeah. But we're calling 60s old, right? So
I'm declaring it old.
Yes, I think Ralph's a good one. How can you look at a baby and say, that's Ralph?
That's Ralph. There's Ralph. That's my son, Ralph.
Like that's what you name an animal as a bit.
Like an ugly dog, you get an ugly chihuahua and you name him Ralph or whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, that's Ralph. That dog, I'm going to name him Ralph because it's funny. I always give my animals human names. I'm a big human name guy for the animals. Yeah. All right.
MXM collection. We were unfortunately trying to preview.
MXM collection.
Yeah, who cares? I'd rather do the segment we did than talk about MX.
Yeah,
because
Hans.
of Hans. Yes.
That segment.
Oh, brutal.
Is legitimately, is that the worst thing AEW has ever put on TV? Now you have Nyla Rose throwing cheeseburgers at Britt Baker.
Yeah.
You have the Dark Order, Phantom Punches.
This is just on television. So the dentist chair match does not count, right?
You could throw in pay-per-view stuff. So the dentist office match.
Yeah.
I would say that's a definite contender. I'd say anytime the Alley Cat was on AEW programming would be a contender.
The mimosa thing.
The mimosa match.
Yeah.
The mimosa match for sure has got to be a contender. How about when what was the first Jericho group called?
The Inner Circle.
Inner Circle?
Yeah.
How about when the Inner Circle went to Las Vegas and the big payoff at the end of the show was Hornswoggle in a diaper?
Yeah.
That's got to be a contender.
That's got to be up there too, yeah. And then there's Chinese Food Owie, the bounce pad. We got a lot in rapid succession last year. So yeah,
I think that Adam Cole and MJF on the fishing boat and they caught Big Show. That's a contender
for sure.
When they went to the trampoline park, when they went to eat the Chinese food too spicy,
100% alcohol. Whoa, no. Yeah, that's
Adam Cole mowing Roderick Strong's grass all show long. Adam Cole and MJF double clotheslining the inflatable alligator. There's a lot of MJF and Adam Cole.
There's a lot. Sean
There's
Cedar,
a lot from that era.
This is great. Because Sean Cedar is such a nice boy. And he writes here that Alley Catch Big Swole match that was taped on Dark and aired on 9/11. And someone commented on Twitter saying that match was the worst thing to ever happen on 9/11. So good.
Yeah.
Alley Catch and Big Swole. Yeah.
I don't know if you can book a worse match than Alley Cat and Big Swole.
That is.
You can't.
That's tough.
Was that a rib? Do you think it was a rib?
Yeah, unless it was a Delmy Exo was in like a three-way with Delmy Exo in there. No, it's not. Alley Catch and Big Swole had to be a rib. Had to be. There's no way they said. Nobody wrote that on a piece of paper and said, all right, guys, get out there and kill it. All right, later. They definitely sent them out and said, oh, guys, it was a sellout. It had to be a monitor sellout, right?
And listen, it lived up to the awful expectations of it.
Oh, it did, yes.
It was legitimately terrible. In terms of leaving out untrained people or low-level indie people or whatever, that is literally the worst match you can book, right? Alley Cat versus Big Swole. Can you book a worse match?
No.
Involving real wrestlers of any notoriety. I can't think of a worse one you could book.
It's pretty up there, yeah.
And they booked it. That had to be a rib. But anyway, the Han segment, I guess we could just mash all of the Adam Cole MJF stuff into.
I was going to say, make it easier and say the summer of 2023 and just put it all in one.
Right. You know, I really think the Adam Cole, Roderick Strong lawnmower segments.
The one they showed twice.
Yeah, because the audio was off, fittingly enough, on the first. So they had to show it again. No, it's the double clothesline to the inflatable alligator. That might have been the worst.
I thought Chinese Food Owie. I thought Chinese Food Owie was the worst.
Chinese Food Owie is a real contender. I'm not going to die on this hill, Rich. If you go with that, there's probably some we're forgetting.
Yeah, there was some Nightmare Collective ones for a while. There was like one where Brandy was in some dark room cutting a very bad promo about it. So
I think the MJF Cole stuff was worse. Than that.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it was worse than that. But this Han segment is right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a contender for sure. The MXM collection have jumped the shark for me. I was enjoying them at first, but the subtlety hammer has come into play. It's too over the top now. They have go away heat. They're feuding with another act that I have absolutely no use for. I don't know where any of these people live. Even if they're coming from like Minnesota, let's just hope their flights get canceled because of the hurricane. Right? Like I know Minnesota's nowhere near the hurricane.
Yeah, and the hurricane is since I think it's deep in the Atlantic at this point, but still you hope that, something happens that maybe.
Yeah. Maybe there's a trickle effect and it affects their flights from Nebraska. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Like sometimes we get, we'll get rain out here, after a couple days after a hurricane. I don't think that's going to happen with this one, but we can only hope. We can only hope.
Yeah. We're spending a lot of time on the worst match on the show.
Yeah, we should probably move on to some better stuff. So I'm going to go to the main event and we'll work our way through the rest of the card. I think that way we can not use all of our energy on these bad matches. Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, AEW World Title. Obviously, Danielson, if he loses, it's the end of his quote unquote regular full-time wrestling career. They've been very careful about how they say that. You and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. What do you do right now? So now you're a couple days out. Are you still sticking with Jon Moxley defeats Bryan Danielson here, wins the title, and Danielson goes away for whatever amount of time that he's going to go away?
It's time for the match, and I still don't feel like there's a right loser yet. I think Moxley's going to win. And I just, in my gut, I feel like it's too soon to send Danielson on his way. But if this is when they plan to end it, this is when they're going to end it. and we won't see Danielson for a year, maybe a year and a half or whatever, until he, comes back part-time to work selected feuds and matches after he gets healthy and spends some time at home and gets a little antsy, because that guy's going to get bored at home, and he loves to wrestle and he loves wrestling, and he's going to wrestle till the day he dies. And it just seems a little early, but at the same time, you can't really beat Mox right now either.
No, you can't. And it feels to me like, and it seems weird to say this because Danielson, just won the title a little bit ago, but I'm kind of ready to move the title off of Danielson already. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not because I'm like,
well, then you think it is the time?
I do think it's the time. Yeah, I do, and that's going to be my take after this last week. I'm not. I don't know if it's like the uneasiness of the when he loses he's going to retire thing, but it's just, I don't know. This reign has felt so heavy, but also doesn't have a whole lot to it. I don't know. It just feels, I feel like I'm ready to kind of move on and start, working on developing what's next for AEW. What's the next year, 2, 3 years going to look like with AEW? And I think that works a little bit better if Moxley's your champion and you have new guys coming at him and going. And I hate to say that because I don't want Bryan Danielson to go away, because Bryan Danielson is still a phenomenal pro wrestler, but I just haven't been in love with this title reign, and I don't love the when he loses his career's over story. It's just, it's gotten a little, it's a little too much. And we're doing every single week, we're doing new interviews where he talks about his neck is falling apart and his body's falling apart, and everybody talks about his body, oh my God, he needs neck surgery tomorrow, and if he's wrestling on borrowed time, and it's just like, I'm getting a little, it's just too much. It's right now, it's a little too much. If he was just out there and just fucking wrestling, and we had a better idea that, hey, you know what, this guy's just wrestling, he's at the top of his game, and if and when someone catches him on a night, that'll just be it for him. But we're doing the every single match is just he has to move heaven and earth to even show up to the building to wrestle in this match, and he's got interviews with every single person saying, oh my God, I'm held together by string, and it's just too much. It's a lot for me, so I'm kind of ready to move on from it, and I'm ready to kind of get going in the next chapter of whatever the story might be.
Should he have done a Terry Funk and just said that when he loses it's the end of his career, full stop, even if he knew he was lying?
Yeah, he should have.
You think he should have done that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's pro wrestling and people aren't really going to hold it against him.
Because it's like half-hearted attempt at doing that. It's the half-hearted attempt at, when I lose, I'm going to retire my full-time. So that that this is not the last time you're going to see Bryan Danielson. It's essentially just whenever he loses, it's the last time we're going to see him for a little while type thing. And I don't know. It's just, I love Bryan Danielson, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, obviously, and I think he's still capable of having fucking phenomenal matches. We just saw that with him and Swerve, but I'm kind of ready to tell a different story. And I think the way that they told this story, it ultimately made this title reign come across, I don't know. It just, it hasn't been I haven't been inspired by his title reign thus far. And I think I'm ready to see what happens. And it's so much so I don't want to sacrifice Jon Moxley, who I think is one of the best characters on AEW right now. I don't want to sacrifice his push and what he's doing right now to further along the Bryan Danielson story. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where I'm caught with. I'm caught with this little in between. Or we have to, and I hate to bring this up, we have to go with option C sometimes with AEW these days.
Austin Aries?
Yes, exactly. You nailed it. Austin Aries. It's possible they just do some fuck finish, right?
Listen.
Wheeler Yuta comes out, turns on Danielson.
It's not impossible.
DQ.
It's not impossible with the way they've been booking lately. Not impossible at all. You can't write it off. And then you extend it one more show or something, and it just doesn't feel like they've properly built up to this big moment of Bryan being ended.
Yeah, right.
I don't, you know what I mean? And I don't feel like Moxley should lose either. So, look, I'm intrigued by it, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm very much anticipating the match. It's my most anticipated match on the show. But, man, I am just so intrigued by the finish and how that finish is going to come across. And to me, that's going to be a major theme of our Instant Reaction Live when we review the show.
Yeah.
What was the finish and how did it come across? So it's a very intriguing match from that standpoint. I think now look, Danielson's run isn't exactly drawing. Let's be honest.
No.
So that Dynamite drew 1,831 fans and did a 0.10 out of time slot. I understand that. 329,000 viewers and a 0.10. I mean, I don't care if it aired at 3 a.m. That's pathetic. And what's worse is they couldn't put 2,000 people in that building. You know, they need something to catch on.
Right.
And the natural pushback to this is, oh, you're dooming. They just got a TV deal. No one is dooming.
Calm down.
But just because they got a TV deal doesn't mean you can't acknowledge that they can't sell fucking tickets. You want to throw the rating out because it was on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock at night and an hour of it went up against an NXT on CW. Whatever. I'm sure next week they'll be back to their usual number. I'm not that concerned with the TV. It's still embarrassing. And I'd be very embarrassed if I were Tony Khan about the business of this Dynamite this week. I'd be humiliated that they drew less than 2,000. And here's the thing.
The rating. The rating was one thing. I thought the attendance was more glaring to me.
Attendance is the bigger story.
That's a 14,000 seat arena, and they barely put 1,800 people in there.
They are selling so few tickets now, it's actually becoming difficult to hide it on TV. With these weird camera angles where they can only show 1/8 of the building.
Right. That stage was so far up, too. It was so far up in the building. You could see there was just a 1,000 feet at ringside. It was like, because Hologram and Commander are doing dives to the outside, and they got like 20 feet of space between them to get out there. Because it's like they're clearly, it's getting
the camera is tilted so you can't see any of the upper deck.
Yeah.
And it's totally focused on that one little corner of the building where there's actually a couple of fans.
It's just pitch black. It's just pitch black out there.
And on this Dynamite, it was affecting the crowd. Like the crowd, the couple of dozen people that were there were hot for some of the Dynamite, but it did not come across because there's no one there. It's the sound is just going into this empty cavernous building, and it's becoming impossible to hide how few people are coming to these shows. And they have a TV coming up. I don't know if it's a Dynamite or a Collision. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And it's coming up like in a couple of weeks, and they have 800 tickets out. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, I forget. It's a Dynamite, I think, and I forget what town it's in, but it's
not like it's 6 months from now.
No, it's one of those weird towns again. It's like fucking Cedar Bluff or it's some weird town where you're like, why are they running this town, for God's sakes? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the plan here is, but it's a bad one. I mean, they can't sell tickets, and it's starting to infect the TV product because it's impossible to ignore when it's very obvious that there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And it has to be affecting the morale of the talent.
How could it not? I said that from the beginning. There was people that would tell me, "Oh, it's okay. Nobody cares. It's fine. There's still 4,000 people in the building. There's still 5,000 people in the building. There's still 6,000 people in the building." I said, it's weird though when you come out and the whole upper deck is empty, and you come out and half the arena is empty, and the people know it too. You don't feel. I've gone to shows. Trust me, I've gone to wrestling shows that are half full, and you know it. You feel like, oh man, I'm at this. This place isn't hot. This isn't cool. This isn't fun to be at. And the fans react as such because they don't feel. Whereas if you were at a smaller building that was full, you're like, all right, motherfucker, here we go. I'm here. I'm packed in. I went to the Frontier Fieldhouse in Chicago Ridge. There was probably 300 people in that fucking building, I think, at peak points. Maybe you can get 500 people stuffed in there if you pay off the fire marshal at that thing. But it didn't matter because all of us were all in, sweating our asses off, going nuts at Ring of Honor. It didn't care if it was only 500 of us. The Odeum in Villa Park, I went there for an ECW show one time that was sold out. People went fucking nuts for it, went fucking crazy. That's it. I've always been a proponent of smaller buildings that are full. The talent feels better. The wrestlers and the talent will feel better. The crowd will feel better. The atmosphere is better. It looks better on TV. I don't need a big giant basketball arena that has, LED stripes all over it if the thing is completely dark and you can only shoot one corner of it. That to me is embarrassing. And they got problems. They do. They definitely do.
So it's a Collision in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, October 26th. October 26th, the Collision in 2 weeks. There's less than 800 tickets.
Oh, that's the Saturday before Halloween, man. Yeah, that's going to draw. That's tough. That's a big party night. It's a big party night.
I don't want to hear that, though.
Oh, no, I'm just saying. It's a big. What I'm saying, people are not going to choose AEW over anything else right now.
Right.
If something else if something else is happening, you're going to do that something else.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's the main event. From a business standpoint, if we're still booking to draw money, which who knows if that's even a consideration anymore at this point, Danielson would have lost the title a long time ago, because this run is not. Now look, it's hard to pin any of this on any individual talent or champion or anything like that, because it's just this weird thing where people have decided that increasingly have decided that they're not going to these TVs, and the pay-per-views still draw, like the pay-per-views drawing fun.
Yeah, absolutely. People know that they're getting a good product. People know that they're going to get their money's worth on a pay-per-view. So
it's not doing, they're not doing pay-per-view numbers where they're selling out and people are flying in anymore. They're not doing peak pay-per-view numbers, but they're putting 7,000-8,000 people in these buildings for their pay-per-views, and they're doing nice little gates for the pay-per-views. And this one is on pace for that as well. Now we'll see how many pay-per-view buys it does. I don't know where I fall on a prediction for this one. I can see having the stance of it's going to do the same number all the AEW pay-per-views do, because people trust AEW pay-per-views, what you just said. But this has been such a weird build.
Yeah. This one feels like one where I think the number is going to be
less.
I think it's going to be low. I think it's going to be a low build. Or a low buy.
I can't kill
number.
You for that. You might be right. I think you could be right about that.
It just feels like a product that's very cold right now. Very ice cold. The buzzometer is very low right now for AEW.
And that kind of speaks to my point that I don't think they've properly built to this moment for Bryan Danielson. It doesn't feel like they've properly built to this moment. It doesn't feel like the fans are in nervous anticipation of whether he's going to lose and be forced into this.
Right. I thought I was going to feel that at this point. And that's why I'm kind of like, if I don't feel it at this point, maybe I'm never going to feel it. So let's just move it on to Moxley. And I don't know that more time is going to make me feel that way. Maybe it will. Maybe if it, they properly build it again, but I'm just really not ready for Moxley to lose either. So yeah, I'm fascinated by the result here. I can't wait to see what they do and how they kind of get out of it. Get out of it in the way that I hope that they just stick to their convictions and just have, somebody win and somebody lose, but maybe get out of it. You might be right. Christian cashing in or some bullshit like that, or
he's going to cash in at some point. Are you getting your takes ready for when Christian cashes in?
I hope not.
That's the grossest booking thing they've ever done, is introduced a cash in.
Mm-hmm.
It is a total 100% ripoff of WWE, which you should never be doing. It's so gross. I hate that so much. I might hate that worse than the brochachos.
The cash in? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. Because
at least the brochachos, it's like, this is dumb, but I get that their inspiration is trying to do something unique or different or whatever. There is nothing unique or different about a guy holding a briefcase and a title shot,
I'm not even going to silver lining the brochachos in any way. That fucking sucks and is one of the worst things I've ever seen in pro wrestling. But it might not be as bad as AEW doing cash-in gimmicks. It might not be as bad. Maybe The Fiend is the only thing in modern wrestling that's been worse than AEW doing cash-in gimmicks. Maybe The Fiend. Well, definitely The Fiend. Nothing's worse than The Fiend. That is as low as you can go. That's the absolute bottom in modern pro wrestling. Bray Wyatt / The Fiend. But outside of that, AEW doing a cash-in is pretty fucking shitty. I can't stand it. And I've kind of got it blocked from my mind. I'm only reminded of it when other people bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to accept that it's happening.
So before we move on to other matches, gun to your head. Danielson, Moxley, who wins?
Moxley wins.
I agree. I'm with you. Moxley wins too. Move on to Mariah May defending the AEW Women's World Title against Willow Nightingale. Now, I'm on your, you know me. I was out on Mariah May before a lot of other people were out on Mariah May. I didn't quite see it. I have been a big fan of the story in totality, and I think she's been an absolute dud. I mean, DUD dud as the women's champion. I know it's not going to happen. I know that she's going to hold this title until probably Grand Slam Australia or whatever, and Tony will win the title back at Grand Slam Australia or whatever. But I'd look around, I'd look at what's been going on. I would watch the TVs, and I'd say, you know what? You can do that little feud without this title. This title's dying on the vine. Willow, you got to win this title. That's what I would do. They're not going to do it. I think Mariah is going to win, but I would do it.
I think Willow should win, and I think it's a mistake if she loses. She lost the New Japan Strong title. She lost the CMLL title.
She has taken a lot of L's lately.
She lost the feud to Statlander. I think she needs to win this. I think she's more important right now than Mariah May. I know they think Mariah May is going to be a big star, and maybe she'll turn it around, and maybe she will be. But she's been bad in every way in this title reign. And Willow is arguably the face of the division. You want to argue about Willow and Monet? That ain't the time for this. But she's arguably the face of the division. And the Mariah May, Toni Storm continuation, when Toni Storm gets back, does not need the title at stake to be an effective feud. So this is the perfect opportunity to get that world title off of Mariah May. You did the turn. You had her win the title. You established her as a top-line player. Mission's all accomplished from that standpoint, even though I feel like she totally failed in the role. You get the title away from her because her feud with Toni Storm, when Toni Storm comes back to get her revenge, doesn't necessitate the title being involved. I think Willow Nightingale, I would go as far as to say it's a mistake if she loses the match because she keeps losing.
She's had a lot of big losses lately. Yeah, it's time to maybe turn the tables and have her win a little bit here.
Yeah,
I love
Mariah
that promo
May keeps
too.
Attacking her.
I love that promo where the blood's coming off her lip because Mariah May just decked her in the. That's good shit, man. I'll take that over Mariah May making stupid faces and commentary.
Well, how about the fact that she body checked Mariah May out of the interview segment to take over?
That was pretty good. That was pretty sick.
That was so good. That was And then like you said, the promo was really good. And I think she really needs to win this. I do.
We'll see if she ends up doing that. The Young Bucks defending their AEW World Tag Team titles against Private Party. We talked about this a lot. You talked about it. We talked about it a lot last week. You talked about it on the Thursday Dynamite review as well. Just the sloppiest shot booking that you could possibly get to this match here, where Private Party makes the challenge. The challenge is sort of kind of accepted. And then Private Party gets all their wins after just being the lost pole. I mean, just losing and getting destroyed for weeks on end. They come out, make a random challenge. The Young Bucks sort of kind of accept it. Then they start winning matches. That's not the way it's supposed to go. It's not the way you're supposed to do it. You had two choices here. If you were going to get to this match with Private Party and the Young Bucks, your choices were either, and there were two, you either don't have them get destroyed by Moxley's new group. That's one. Or two, you have them win matches in anticipation of them challenging the Young Bucks for these titles. They chose neither. They decided we're going to have them get killed, and then they're just going to randomly challenge the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are just going to, for some reason, accept this challenge. And everyone's going to be okay with Private Party getting an AEW World Tag Team title shot, even though they've done nothing truly to earn this title shot.
There's people who will defend this by saying they didn't officially get the title shot until they won the three-way at Collision for the number one contendership.
Mm-hmm.
My counter argument to that is they called out the Bucks, okay, before the trios match on Rampage where they beat the Bucks, and before the number one contender match on Collision the following night, which tipped off the finish to both of those matches because we already knew they were going to do that match at the pay-per-view because Private Party had already called out the Bucks.
Did they earn a number one contendership shot either? Like, what have they done to earn a number one contendership, to even be in the mix?
Do nothing but lose.
Yeah.
Do nothing but lose. It's setting that aside. We all know that this company no longer gives a shit about wins and losses. That's such old news, right? So we don't even we can criticize that piece of it, but it's pointless.
Right. We're doing stupid stuff.
Emi Sakura just got a title shot on TV. And she's won one match in her entire AEW career, and it was a tag team match in 2019 before the pandemic on TV. One match on TV, her whole entire AEW run. A tag match before the pandemic. That happened so long ago that one of the opponents was Shanna. That's the last time Emi Sakura won a match.
I nearly slipped in the shower when you said Shanna. I was like, oh my God, what a world. That feels like 15 years ago. If you told me, hey, when was Shanna last in AEW? I would have told you, dear God. I mean, it's Shanna.
And if people are wondering, yes, I hang out in the bathroom while Rich is taking showers.
Yes.
So the wins and losses you could throw, like, forget that. That's bad enough. This was booked backwards. Okay. First of all, if you know Private Party's getting a title shot at your next pay-per-view, you don't use them as the undercard guys that not Blackpool Combat Club beats the living shit out of for a month straight.
Right.
You give that role to someone
else. Anybody else. If you have any long-term planning or any short-term planning, not even long-term plan, short-term planning to say, hey, at WrestleDream, we want Private Party to face the Young Bucks. Hey, we're going to have Private Party, get destroyed by the Blackpool Combat Club. No, we're not. Pick a different team because we're going to have Private Party face the Young Bucks at WrestleDream. That should have been the conversation.
But let's give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say this wasn't planned and it was a decision made after that feud, or the idea being, I've seen some people pitch the idea, getting their asses kicked in that feud motivated them to get serious again. Okay. Let's take all of that. That's fine. They still booked everything after that backwards. They should have won the 6-man tag against the Elite where they pinned the Bucks first. That should have earned them a spot in the number 1 contender 3-way, which they then should win. And then they should call out the Bucks and challenge the Bucks. By calling out the Bucks and challenging them before those matches take place, it makes all of this feel totally inorganic and like you're just giving losers a title shot for a match they won 5 years ago. And it's the kind of horse shit that we've seen in American television wrestling for the last 25 years in TNA, in WWE, in WCW. And the whole idea behind AEW was we're going to be different and change the world. And here we are, just giving title shots to random ass people who never win matches. That's the problem. And maybe there's people listening who think we're making a big deal out of it. We don't care, but it wasn't always like this. There used to be standards. They used to do things different. Wins and losses used to matter in this company. They don't matter anymore. They're just doing this shit the same old way. What do we need AEW for if they're going to do shit the same old way? If it wasn't for the great pay-per-views, what would be the function and purpose of this promotion? Someone tell me.
Yeah.
From a fan standpoint, not it gives people jobs. No, from a fan standpoint, what would be the purpose and function of this promotion if they didn't have killer pay-per-views at this point? It's the same shit that we get everywhere else. That's the problem. And this title shot for Private Party and the way that we got to it is a perfect example of that. This is no different than someone who never wins matches coming out on Miz TV and just deciding they want a title match in WWE. And that was routinely mocked for decades. No different than Solo Sikoa. What did he lose? 47 straight matches or something? It doesn't matter. Don't you want these things to matter? I thought we wanted this to be different. It's not different anymore from that standpoint. So that's all. That's why we rant and rave about this stuff, because it's a shame. It's a shame that they don't have standards anymore when they do these things. So.
Bucks win this match. The Private Party's
the Bucks retain.
The Bucks are probably retaining the titles here. All right, Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. The newly minted babyface Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page. Feels odd, and this is another weird match where it's like, Page, can you really have Page take another loss? And do you want Jay White to lose?
Yeah, I don't know who's winning this match. Jay White just came back, and in his promo, he talked about wanting to win the world title. And I don't think he would have gone into business for himself. That's probably a directive. He might be a challenger of the month for Moxley or something now that Jay White is a babyface, which, by the way, what's with the turns in this? What's with the unearned turns in this company? Why are people heels and then out of convenience for whatever their next program is going to be, they're magically baby faces? What did the Bang Bang Gang do to earn a babyface turn? What did Chris Statlander do to earn a babyface turn after she viciously turned on Willow, had that whole ass feud with her, was in this heel act with Stokely, What did she do to earn a babyface turn? What was the angle? What was the impetus for that turn? Or the Bang Bang Gang turn? Or I could probably think of some others because they just turn people on a dime in this company, and it's never earned. There's never an angle. There's never a reason for it. People just show up on TV and they've turned. And it's not even a Shades of Grey thing. It's just Jay White's a fucking babyface now. Why? Did I miss something, Rich?
He just is.
He just is a babyface.
He's just a babyface now.
And the fans were so confused because Hangman's a shade of gray, leaning towards heel.
Right. He's a justified heel. He's the classic justified heel, where if you really think about it, you're like, man, he's kind of right. A lot of stuff he's saying, yeah.
Yeah. He's a very strong heel leaning tweener, right? Like, that's fine. I like characters like that. Jay White just is a babyface for no apparent fucking reason other than they needed an opponent for someone who leans heel, and they're going to have a heel champion soon with Moxley, who's going to need babyface challengers. That's the reason. They don't do anything to earn these turns. Statlander too. Now, there's these rumors and these whispers that Statlander and Stokely weren't getting along behind the scenes. I don't give a fuck.
Shit. Too fucking bad.
Now look, no. If people aren't getting along and don't want to work together, I don't have a problem if you make the decision to split them up.
Sure.
Here's my problem.
Tell a fucking story with it, though.
Tell the fucking story. You don't just turn Statlander out of the blue. Shoot some kind of angle. Make it make sense to the viewer. Their behind-the-scene problems aren't the viewer's problem.
No.
The problem is,
if they can't be in the same room with each other, then have Stokely cut a promo backstage where he talks about putting Chris Statlander in some sort of match that she doesn't want to be in. She does the match, she loses, she gets pissed and says, I'm done with this. I've been treated by Stokely.
There's
1,000 different ways to do this. I just booked it in 4 seconds, a way to do it. Instead, they just have you wake up from a fucking amnesia or this Men in Black pen, and Chris Statlander goes, "Hi, I'm Chris Statlander, and I want to change." And it's just like, all right, that's it. That's literally what it was. It was Chris Statlander saying, I think I need to change.
She didn't even explain. She just said, I was in a group. I had a manager. Now I don't have any of those things. Well, why? And why are you a babyface now? Like, why are we supposed to, again, they don't earn the turns.
Yeah.
They don't do anything to say, all right, this person's a babyface. It could have been very simple. There was a million ways. The way you said, you could have had another group of heel women just randomly attack her and do like a mystery thing. And the next week, Stokely points at his temple and says, I had the, just something.
Anything.
You don't even have, if they can't, like you said, even if it's so bad where they can't stand being in each other's presence, you can do it without them being in each other's presence. You can do something. You have 47 people in that room, and nobody can think of something.
Yeah, 5 hours of television and 47 people in the room, and nobody can. The idea is, fuck it. Just have her come out and say, I'm a face now.
I mean, half of them work for TNA, and it shows. And it fucking shows. I mean, this is embarrassing, a lot of this. But anyway, Jay White's a babyface now. My guess is he wins. It doesn't hurt Hangman. And I feel like they're setting up Jay White to be a challenger of the month for Jon Moxley. How's that sound?
There you go. We'll go with that. Speaking of, it's going to be a theme of this. I think the show is going to be pretty good. I think the wrestling of the show is going to be pretty good. But I got to call it like I sees it. And three-way match for the AEW International Championship. Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Konosuke Takeshita. While I think this match is going to be pretty good, you know my stance on three-way matches. And, there's a couple people in our Discord that were saying, I can't believe you guys are dogging this match. It's going to be pretty good. Why not give it a chance? And the problem is, and the reason why is, I think most three-way matches stink. And most three-way matches, as I've always said, you'd be better served with any combination of that match in a singles. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, Ricochet versus Takeshita, Will Ospreay versus Takeshita. All those matches sound better than Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita. And there's a certain cap in my mind on three-way matches, and I don't know why I always fight that and say, in my mind, because then we were talking about in the Discord, and I said, all right, well, what's a recent three-way match that, because everybody always brings up Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, right? That was like 20 years ago at this point, right? Like that was so long ago that met. And then people bring up a couple of these examples, and I'm like, give me an example.
More novel then, and it was more novel.
And exactly, it was a novel concept at this time. We have seen for the last 20 years that three-way matches are used to, okay, we don't know how to, we want to just stuff another person into this match, or we want to protect somebody in this match, so we're going to have this guy be put in there, or this woman be put in there, and she's the one, or he's the one that's going to take the pinfall. That's what they're usually meant for. And they've been bad. Most of them are bad because when asked, okay, give me a good three-way match of the last 5 years, 10 years. I'll post this to the chat room right now. Give me a good three-way match from the last 5 years. The best. Right off the top of your head, the best three-way match you've seen in the last 5 years.
Okay, there's probably been some really great ones, but I can't remember any because it's like they're three-way matches. They're disposable. They're overdone.
Mm-hmm.
So, that becomes well. Here's the other problem with this. As you wait for the chat to answer your question, what did Takeshita do to earn his way into this match? He ruined.
He fucked up a match. Yeah, he fucked up a match and ruined it.
And now we're just putting him in a title match again. There used to be standards, and I'm gonna say it again. They should have never got rid of the rankings. That was a giant red flag. That said we're gonna be lazy now. The rankings, what was the one thing I always used to say that was the most important facet of the rankings? It kept the booking honest. You could not fuck around and do shit like this when you had rankings. It kept the booking honest. It forced you to push people before you gave them title shots.
Mm-hmm.
It forced you to adhere to hierarchy and structure. And without it, it's too easy to be lazy when you book. And I don't know if they listened to the critics, most of whom are dumber than a box of rocks and don't understand these things. Okay? Or didn't want to consume wrestling in a new, scary way. You either listened to those people who you should never listen to, okay? And you let them win. Or you just decided it's easier to be lazy, so we don't have to justify the matchmaking. We could just do what we feel like doing. But that's when you get shit like this, where it doesn't make sense that Takeshita would be in this title match. In fact, I would prefer a promotion where when you do angles like this, where a wrestler ruins a title match, they get, kayfabe suspended for 30 days.
Right.
Oh, Takeshita, you're suspended. Don Callis, you put him up to it, you're suspended for 30 days too.
Right. He came out and he ruined a match. The match went to a no contest or whatever because of his interference. Yeah. At my promotion, the way I would book it is you could do that and you could beat up the guy, but now you're suspended for 30 days.
You're suspended for 30 days and you're banned from any future international, whatever you want to do to give angles gravity and weight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is just cheap and lazy. It's cheap and lazy. And there's been a lot of cheap, lazy, disorganized, messy booking in the company lately on the underneath stuff.
And it sucks because this is a match that probably will fucking rock, right? It's Will Ospreay.
Sure. I'm sure it's going to be a great
and Ricochet and Takeshita. I think Takeshita and Ospreay are among the top 10 wrestlers in the world right now. I love those guys. Top 20 easily. If top 10's a little too strong for you. And it's like I'm coming at this match going, fuck, it's a three-way match. And Takeshita, it's just lumped in there. And you know what I mean? That's where the bad booking kind of makes me not as excited for a match that I should probably be pretty excited for. But alas, here we are.
Well, look, I'm sure the pay-per-view is going to be great. We just said how they usually are. But to me, as someone who does a show like this, the theme of this preview had to be the messy, uneven build to the pay-per-view. That's the lead.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other lead here for the kind of show we do. Because there's not been a cohesive, slick build to get to where we are with a lot of these matches, even though on the night of, there's no reason this show should not rock.
No, it should absolutely rock. My three-way question, we got like two answers. Nathan says the Mania one with Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther.
That's a great match. Yeah.
Lee says Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Benoit, but again, that was
a fucking generation ago.
Yeah. Lee also said the Ibushi Cody Kenny 3-way, but he's on an island.
Oh, that was not well received.
No.
Now, I thought that was a good match. I think it was a great match, but that was not a well received match. That was
that's what I've gotten so far. Those are the 3 that I've gotten so far. So
and that's
I rest
the
my
point.
case. I rest my case.
Now, I promise you there's been some other great 3-way matches. The problem is they're often not memorable. That's the other problem. Whereas there's not as many great ones as you think. It's also that they're not that memorable because it's harder to produce a memorable match in that scenario. I think 3-way and 4-way matches in a lot of ways are a crutch and they're lazy. And I personally, if I were running things, I would challenge my team to never book them. And if they got pitched, I'd say there better be a really great reason for this.
Yeah, why? Why are we doing this match?
And there's a 1% chance I'm going to do it, and I'm probably not going to do it, and stop pitching me 3 and 4 ways. They're lazy.
Elsewhere on the card, quickly we'll go through these. Jack Perry defending his AEW TNT title against Katsuyori Shibata. I would assume Jack retains here. Shibata's probably not winning this thing.
But here's the kind of wrench in that.
The challenge to Daniel Garcia.
Shibata offered Daniel Garcia a title match for a title he hasn't even won yet. Now, why do you do that? Windhorse fingers, right? Now, if Shibata wins, again, why are we tipping it off? Why not just have Shibata win and then on next week's TV, he can go show respect to Daniel Garcia and say, hey, man, you could have a shot at this gold. You see what I mean? Like, why would you foreshadow it? It's just dumb. So, I don't know. I think Shibata has a real chance to win this. Or, the other option is Jack Perry and the Elite do something nefarious to beat Shibata, and then Garcia comes out to help him and save him, and then and then we have a Jack Perry Garcia program. Yeah. That's the other option.
Yeah, right. Fine. Darby Allin, Brody King. These guys will go out there and kill each other. Those will be great. I can't wait for this match.
Yeah. I liked the promo on Dynamite. I thought they did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's gonna be a hell of a match.
And they have history, and I like paying off the long-term history and all that. This is the kind of shit I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like this, where these two guys have had a long-standing thing. It's the Dragon Gate theory we always talk about. They're enemies forever, and Brody King stepped up into the open challenge because these guys have been at odds. Darby explained their backstory. I'm all about this. They did a good job with this one.
Absolutely. Mark Briscoe defending the ROH World title against Chris Jericho. I thought Briscoe's promo on Dynamite was great. Throwing the title down doesn't matter. This title doesn't matter. I'm coming for you, so I'm going to hurt you. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, it should be good. It should probably be bloody. I'm into it. Yeah, I like this match a lot, and this will be a good test for Jericho because Jericho's not good at like having athletic matches anymore, but I think he can still brawl, and I think that this is going to be more of that, and that's probably what Chris Jericho has to pivot to full time is just kind of being a brawler and that sort of in that realm.
Hey, look, if this match is bad, and it could be bad, it's not going to be Mark Briscoe's.
No, right.
So
right. Well, no.
If Jericho has a good night, it's going to be a good match. If Jericho has an off night, it could be ugly because that's where Jericho is right now.
Then I think the final one is Hologram Beast Mortos. 2 out of 3 falls.
I can't wait. Bart Scott can't wait. I mean, they already had a good TV match.
Yeah, the best base, one of the best bases in the world against one of the best flyers in the world. This should be fun.
Yeah, in the residency, they had a good TV match, and they're going to do 2 out of 3 falls here, and this is going to rock. And my instinct is Hologram's going to win, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it'd be the worst thing if Beast Mortos won, because they kickstarted a program when Roosh and the boys jumped Hologram and Commander. So you could have a whole ass program out of this. Now, if you want to keep the whole Hologram undefeated thing going, I get that. I wouldn't have a problem no matter who wins this. I think either guy is viable. Hologram seems to be a Tony Khan pet project. He'll probably win. The big question is, will Jake Roberts be at ringside, or will he just disappear again for 6 months? Doesn't that feel weird? Jake Roberts managing Roosh and the boys.
So strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts
bizarre.
and Dralistico. It's like, what? What do Jake the Snake Roberts and Dralistico have to do with each other? But
I
popped for the Magic trade. I popped for the Magic trade, though. I kind of did. Whoever in that room said do the Magic trade. I like that guy. That guy needs more shot in the room.
First of all, here's the sloppiness again. How often have we seen Don Callis and Roosh over the last? Don Callis hasn't been.
Roosh has been hanging out with those guys. Roosh has been hanging out with these guys right now.
Yeah. I forgot that Don Callis managed Roosh.
Yeah.
Because they never showed them on camera together.
He was never in any of those backstage things. Last week when they were doing we got to go. We got to catch a plane. I don't think Roosh was there, was he?
I don't think he was.
I don't think so either.
He's never, he's like, they did that one thing where Callis kept telling Roosh he was disappointing him. Remember that little angle they did? And since then, Roosh has been doing things on his own, including forming this unit with Mortos and Dralistico. I legitimately forgot that he was managed by Don Callis because there's so much sloppiness with the way they do things. But that match is my second most anticipated match on the show. I mean, I can't wait for that. The three-way for the international title. It's going to be great. I have a bad taste in my mouth how they got there. That's all. But I'm going to love the match in real time. But yeah, that was a nice little addition.
I was happy with that one. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun match. And then, people are speculating about Statlander versus Money. Thus far, not announced for the show, and we're already at 10 matches on the main show.
Well, I didn't see spoilers for the weekend stuff.
I didn't either.
I don't know. As of this recording, it's not announced.
Right. It's not.
If they shoehorn it in there, whatever. But I mean, if I was gonna have Money on the show, I don't know. They don't seem to. I don't know. I don't want to do that whole thing again. But
I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I don't think I need that match on this show. It's fine.
I mean, especially if the MXM collection Acclaimed is on the main show, because now that's 10 matches already on the main show. Yeah, that's a lot of matches. So I don't think it needs another match. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah. If it's Mercedes Moné doesn't feel like someone you add to a show at the 11th hour.
No, certainly you did not pay her to be somebody that could put on at the last minute. No.
Right. With an opponent where you did a turn that feels like you decided on it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, there's time to let that marinate a little bit, so I'd probably wait too, but we'll see. See if it gets added. But there you go. That is WrestleDream, and we will be reviewing that show immediately following immediately following it when it wraps up.
We forgot that Strickland returns.
Oh yeah. Swerve Strickland returns, and we'll do something with MVP. So,
well, he was supposed to wrestle Lashley on this show. Okay, that was the plan all along for Swerve to return to wrestle on this show. So they're pushing that match back, but that match is going to happen. Okay. I would expect Lashley to be on the show. They rolled out Shelton, and if Swerve's going to be on the show, I don't think he's just going to do an angle with Shelton x Benjamin. I think this is where you introduce Lashley.
I would assume that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. So they decided for whatever reason to not do the match yet. So they'll save the match for the next pay-per-view, but that's going to be what Swerve is going to be doing until they eventually get back to Swerve and Hangman.
So you got that, and then, it seems, but, we will be going live, like I said, immediately after Danielson and Moxley finish up in the main event. So we'll have a lot to talk about, big reactions from that show. Obviously, what happens in that main event is going to be the key discussion point of that. But, Instant Reaction Live, $10 tier, flagshippatreon.com. Definitely recommend checking that out. Subscribe now. Do not miss a second of the show. We always have people that sign up like right as we go live or a couple minutes after we go live, or they jump in and say, hey, what did I miss? Or don't do that. Just sign up now. Get on a $10 tier now. Make sure you are ready to go when we go live immediately following the show on Saturday nights. The most extensive and detailed post-pay-per-view review show in the game. Guaranteed. Instant Reaction Live. $10 tier, flagship, patreon.com. So we are just about out of time, but that's okay. We only have one more topic really to get to. We'll work on Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Can wait till next week. I just put that in there if we needed it. We don't need it, so we'll move on. Quickly though, New Japan King of Pro Wrestling, which we kind of previewed last week. We went over the entire card, talked about it. This is obviously this weekend as well. The big thing would be the main event, and we talked about it a little bit. Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. Have you changed, or are you still doing it? You still having Zack Sabre Jr. win this title and go to Royal Quest with the title?
Yeah, and after sitting on it for a week, I feel like Sabre's going to win, go to Royal Quest with the title. It doesn't make any sense to have him come into Royal Quest a loser, so he'll go into Royal Quest and defend it against Sonata. And on January 4th, you'll do Tetsuya Naito versus Hiromu Takahashi, which they've never done and might be their biggest drawing match they have currently on the books. And January 5th, Zack Sabre Jr. defends the IWGP title against somebody from AEW. I feel like that's what they're going to do. And Sabre on the 4th can do a preview tag for his title defense the next night against whoever that's going to be. Pick your AEW challenger. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Will Ospreay, I think that'd be a great option, or whoever it is. If Tony will endorse a Will Ospreay loss on a show, but who knows? Let's crawl before we can walk.
Yeah. We got a lot of ways to go before we get there.
I think that is the logical path. The other big note, because we're not going to we previewed the matches last week. Mm-hmm. The other big note here to me is the ticket sales for this show are trending to be tremendous. So they did a nice little number for Destruction and Bipu. What the hell was that show they just did? Naito and Okan. What the?
Oh, that Destruction and Kobe, I believe was the one of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a nice little number there. Kobe, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their better numbers in Kobe since the pandemic, if not their best number. But nowhere close to the peak. But this number, the way it's trending, it looks like they're going to do a really big number. So the Naito Zack Sabre Jr. match has worked as a draw, it would appear. So that bodes well if you're going to put the title on Zack Sabre Jr. And I think Royal Quest will draw well with Zack Sabre Jr. on top, especially if he wins the title. There's the novelty factor of one of their own, a local hero coming with one of the most important titles in wrestling for that Royal Quest card. So, yeah, what we talked about last week, I'm standing firm, and I feel like that's how it's all going to play out.
I'm with you, too. Yeah, I sat on it a little bit, and now I'm even more locked in on Zack Sabre Jr.
I'm curious how they're going to book their way out of Mystico versus Hiromu.
That is fascinating. What's the time limit on that match? We'll see. It could go time limit draw, or because I don't think Mystico's doing the JOB. So maybe Hiromu will just say, fuck it, I don't really care that much. It's fine. Maybe they'll build up something where Hiromu goes to Mexico then and faces him, or I don't know what they do. But are
you into the show? Is the guy down on New Japan into this show?
I think I am. I think I am, because Shingo and Oiwa fucking rocks. I'm into that. Finley I'm gonna be in with it all, but he's there with Goto. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck. If
it's not Yoshihashi this time.
Right. It's Goto. And I can believe in Goto and I can trust in Goto. So this will be the time where I'm like, all right, prove to me that David Finley has changed and gotten better. So that will help for sure. The rest of the show, not really. I mean, Mystico and Hiromu I'm into, just to see how they book out of it.
I can't wait for Mystico Hiromu. I'm excited about that.
It should be pretty fun. Shingo versus Oiwa is gonna fucking rock. I'm into that. And I'm into Finley versus Goto, and I'm into the main event. The main event, I don't know, stylistically, I think it'll be fine. I think Naito will be able to deliver enough, and I know that I have 100% faith in Zack Sabre Jr. to deliver. And I'm just curious how they book out of it and how that, the result is, and if Sabre does actually win it and what that's like to have him win this title in Sumo Hall. That's gonna be pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff on the show that I am definitely preparing to hit the old skip button if I don't watch this thing live. Dookie and Show. Probably going to skip that.
You can't skip it. You got to review it. You're a professional reviewer.
Fuck. All right, fine.
You got to watch it. What are you doing?
I know. Phantasmo, Tanahashi, and Umino versus House of Torture. Love to hit the old 30-second button on that a couple times, but that's probably not going to happen. And a match that I would be into, again, New Japan World Television title match. Jeff Cobb, Yota Tsuji, I'm in. Then we added Ren Narita and made it a three-way, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I can't believe they did that.
Oh, I forgot Caveman Ugg is on this show. No, fuck, I'm all in on that. I cannot wait to see the Rogue Army.
Not only is Caveman Ugg on the show, he's teaming with Bad Blood.
I know. I'm all in on that just to see what that is going to be. Just
what that looks like. Yeah.
Just what the Bullet Club Rogue Army against TMDK too. Not exactly like, not exactly the brainbusters out there either on the other side. So, they used to be good. They just don't care anymore. They haven't cared in like 9 years. When's the last time TMDK cared about a match?
Well, Shane Haste just doesn't give a fuck.
Right. When's the last time he went through the curtain and said, "All right, Shane, let's do this."
Mikey Nichols will give you a professional effort.
Mad Mikey will try. Yeah.
Shane Haste doesn't give a fuck. What happened with Shane Haste is when he was when he was Rusty Trombone or whatever he was in WWE at the end there, fucking
Slap Jack. He was Slap
Donkey Punch,
Jack.
Whatever his fucking name was. When he got cut, I feel like he threw in the towel on his career. Now he's just in, all right, this is what I do for a living. I'm never going to make it. That dream when I hit the pillow of main event in WrestleMania is never going to happen for me. So he's just a guy who doesn't feel or look motivated at all. This is the guy who they had in the G1 that year, and he was like twerking down to the ring and treating it like a joke. It's just he doesn't care. He just doesn't give a shit. But it's but the novelty. I don't know if the people of Bipu, where is this show?
This one is in Sumo Hall. Little venue called Sumo Hall. Yeah,
I should know. Awful job out of me.
I believe this one is in Tokyo, Japan.
I'm like, where's King of Pro Wrestling this year? Yamamatsu? No, it's in Sumo Hall.
It's
asshole.
Sumo Hall, you dummy. Yeah,
you fucking idiot. It's in Sumo Hall. I don't think the people of Sumo Hall might not know what they're getting into with Caveman Ugg, right? We talked about Hanna-Barbera a couple weeks ago. This is like a living, breathing Captain Caveman coming to, and we all know that Cavanario is over like a motherfucker whenever he comes to New Japan. So, and the dream, I guess, is still alive. Listen, I think it's going to have to happen on a Mark Hitchcock WrestleCon Super Show, but we got to get at some point Caveman Ugg versus Cavanario. It has to happen. And WrestleMania weekend is the place to do it on a WrestleCon Super Show. It's got to happen. So we know the booker. We got to nudge him in that direction. I'm sure he would love to put that together.
I think he would. Yeah. We've asked him. Have we flat out asked him for that?
We have.
All right.
Yeah, I think he's open to it.
Well, hopefully, we'll do it again. Hopefully, pretty soon. I think we can try.
But no Bullet Club Rogue Army. Don't bring Bad Luck.
No, do not bring Bad Luck Fale, and no, he can stay home.
I don't think he's interested in booking Bad Luck Fale.
We don't need Tony Kazina. We don't need any of the. All those guys can stay in.
I see the wheel, man. I don't know why I'm doing my chart. I don't know why I'm doing the Charlie Day high voice, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind.
You want Tony Kazina on the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. Yes, I do.
Okay, all right.
I would love to see the Wheelman. Who
can he face? Who's got a similar nickname to the Wheelman or something similar to the Wheelman? Can't book Davey anymore. Davey's canceled, unfortunately, so that's out.
What a shame. What a shame.
Kyle O'Reilly? You can go Kyle O'Reilly. Tony Kazina.
Kyle distanced himself from that.
He's going to take that, but I'm just saying.
After the heist, he didn't want much to do with those guys.
Right. Believe it or not, he's like, I'm 24 and I might have my whole life in front of me, so no, I'm good, guys.
He's like, did we just commit a larceny? I think I'm out. I'm done with this. I don't know. If the Wheelman's part of the deal, I think you got to accept it. Anyway, let's quickly talk about this Royal Quest show because we have some matches for it. So we've got Sabre versus Sonata. I think that'll be a title match.
Mm-hmm. That's stand-in now, but you brought when you said that last week, it was just like, oh yeah, duh. Like, who is the best placeholder V1 title defense for Zack Sabre Jr. in the UK? Sonata. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. TMDK defends their other set of tag team titles because remember they are double champions.
What? Who gave these guys so many titles? Why is this happening?
Well, why do these titles even exist? That's a better question. No one cares about the New Japan Strong.
I forgot they have both. I thought they won a unification match, and we were all like, all right. Well, we thought it was a unification match. We were wrong. And so now they're just defending both of these titles. The one's not worthless. This one is worthless. The New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team titles is entirely worthless. But fuck. All right, whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Tanahashi and Tomohiro, Big Tom Tomohiro Ishii are getting that shot, which is perfect for the British crowd because it's Tanahashi and Big Tom Ish. They love Big Tom Ish. Shota Umino versus Callum Newman. Drilla Maloney versus Yota Tsuji. Michael Oku versus Kosei Fujita of TMDK. Didn't Michael Oku sign with AEW?
So that is an interesting question. They somebody asked Dave Meltzer that this week on Observer Radio, and he had a very interesting. He was just like, I don't know. I thought he did too, and I guess he didn't. I don't know. The whole bugaboo around All In was that he was going to be signed and he was locked in and he was going to AEW. And your guess is as good as mine, Joe. I don't know.
Because I got to tell you, he's wrestling as Zack Sabre Jr. stablemate. So me putting my booking hat on, it feels like he will win that match and then challenge Sabre for the belt. Crazy?
No.
Impossible?
No.
I mean,
has he properly worked AEW yet, or he just did that one dark match, right? In Cardiff.
Oku?
That Dynamite. He did that Dynamite match. He's never been on TV, right?
No.
Okay, because he wasn't in that Rumble or whatever. I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to remember if he ever. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened with that story. No clue.
Because it kind of assumed he did, or he said he did, and then everyone just kind of forgot about it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels like why else would he beat Fujita?
It is strange.
So I think maybe he'll come out and challenge Sabre or something. They have another show on the books, New Japan, in the UK, sometime imminently before Wrestle Kingdom.
That I don't. Let me double check what they have, because they run there pretty frequently, and for good reason. They draw well there.
Would New Japan allow that title to be defended on a Rev Pro show?
Maybe, because it's Zach. Maybe.
I think they would.
Yeah, I think it's because it's Zach. I mean, if it was just like, if it was Naito, no, they probably wouldn't. But I think if it's Zach, right now Royal Quest, and then nothing until Wrestle Kingdom for the UK. So no, I think they're probably fine with that. It's Zach. If you're gonna put the title on Zach, I think you're fine with Rev Pro using him in big spots like that.
Yeah, and then I closed the page. I think it was Danny Luna and AZM versus
right. Azumi. Danny Luna and Azumi versus Kanji and Mina Shirakawa.
Great. I'll be locked in.
I know you will. I know you'll all be locked in. Yeah, for sure. But there you go.
I'm told that AZM is really great. Is that true?
Yeah, she's good. Azumi's good.
All right. She's an adult?
Are you asking me, is she an adult?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's not a child. I believe she is an adult.
Well, you act like that's a weird question with these fucking Joshi.
Not, but no, it's not that. Yeah, no, she's a
adult.
full-grown adult, yes. I think she's like in her
kid.
No, I think she's in her early 20s. Now, did she start wrestling when she was like 12? Yes, she did. So to ask if she was a child is a worthwhile question.
I don't know why you acted like it was a weird question.
Right. I believe she did start wrestling when she was like 12, but no, she is now 22 years old or something like that.
Is Starlight Kid an adult now?
Starlight Kid's like in her 30s at this point.
Okay.
I don't know if we have the shoot age for Starlight Kid, but
I remember she was like 13 or something.
No, I take that back. Starlight Kid's like 24, 25. She is not 30. I apologize.
Okay.
But she also did wrestle when she was a child too. So your question, I get it. I get your question now.
She was like 13 when she started or something.
Yeah, she was pretty early.
Joshi and Lucha, they start them young. I mean, it's a legitimate question to say, is AZM an adult? Because I knew she was young, right? So the reason I was asking is because she's wrestling in England. So it's like, do they send would they send a non-adult? But it's a moot point because you're telling me she's of age. I don't understand. Like, I think that's a legitimate.
She's 22. She's cleared the threshold for a while now.
Okay, then that answers my question.
I
was just like, I thought she was like 15, and I'm like, that's weird that they're sending a 15.
You've seen Azumi wrestle before. I think you like Azumi too. Yeah, I think you like her too.
All right, maybe I've seen AZM. I don't recall, but I don't.
EITA.
Don't explain the joke. Let it hang there. Let people be confused and like, the ones that don't get it get mad at me. I like that. It's fun. So don't explain it any further. Don't do
That's all. But speaking of the Joshi world, I was watching their recent Stardom show, and I'm planning on a Flagship Plus sometime in the next couple days. I watched Dragon Gate, their much heralded show from Korakuen Hall. I've been watching a little bit of this Stardom show, Timeless Tony versus your girl, Maya Iwatani, is on that show. So, and GLEAT. I've been watching the GLEAT. So I want to talk about the GLEAT, Stardom, and Dragon Gate. 3 things that you would not want to talk about. You'd have to be dread kicking and screaming to talk about those 3 things. So at some point in this weekend, you'll get a Flagship Plus talking Dragon Gate, Stardom, and GLEAT.
You know what? I was gonna put you on the spot and make you commit to it, but you did it yourself.
I did right there. I did. The reason I did that is because I was hemming and hawing, and now I did it, so now I have to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
I do that all the time. I do that all the time.
Because I was gonna wake up on Saturday and be like, it's beautiful today. I'm not doing that.
Ask me if there's a Jovember coming.
Is there a Jovember to remember coming, Joe?
Rich, we're out of time. Wrap up the show.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Yeah, we're hitting that threshold. We're hitting the 3 hour and 23 minute mark, so we got to get out of here. That's when we try to stop every show between 3 hours and 23. We just hit it, so we're already over. So that is Joe. I'm Rich. We'll talk to you guys next time. FlagshipPatreon.com for WrestleDream Instant Reaction Live immediately following the show on Saturday. FlagshipPatreon.com. Make sure you subscribe there. VoicesOfWrestling.com/Discord if you want to join on our Discord. And then also go to YouTube. YouTube.com/Voices of Wrestling, or just search for Voices of Wrestling on YouTube. All right. That is it for us. That is Joe. I'm Rich. Talk to you again next time. Take care. Bye.
Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on November 5th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.